Hey everyone, today is Friday the 19th of June 2020. This is a bonus episode of The Gap. We're doing The Last of Us Part 2 Spoilercast. With me today is Joab Gilroy and Nathan Lawrence. How you guys going?
What up?
Good, what's going on?
What's up?
So today is the release of The Last of Us Part 2. We have all played it and finished it. And Joab and I did a review podcast a few weeks back. But this one specifically,
podcast, we talked about it, yeah.
Yeah, this one specifically is going to go into details about the story, which is something we didn't discuss before. It was a spoiler-free review, whereas this one will be we're going everywhere. So if you have not played the game or finished it, stop the podcast, go play it because it's a great game. Come back and have a listen to our thoughts. Maybe you'll agree with some of the things we say. Maybe you'll disagree with them. Maybe...
Shit, I don't think the people on this fucking podcast are going to agree with the things everyone says on this podcast. I guarantee you this game, like you were saying, go and play it before you listen. We're not going to go fucking chapter by chapter or anything. It's going to be a fucking shit show.
Otherwise, we'd be here for 60 hours. No,
yeah. But I mean more in that, this is not going to be chronologically approached. So you can't be sure, I've played 3/4 of it, so I can listen to 3/4 of this fucking podcast. Yeah, there's no fucking chance. We're probably going to talk about the fucking second half pretty much immediately. Just be careful, right? Like, if you haven't played it, go play it, come back and listen. Or if you just don't give a shit, do it that way. Do you. But just fair warning about how this is going to go down. It is going to be spoilerific.
They're going to be big spoilers, straight up. That's where we're going first.
Why would we approach it chronologically if Naughty Dog has no interest in approaching their game chronologically? That's your first spoiler.
For fuck's sake. But I think I said it in, you can go read my now unredacted review on the gapodcast.com. Like I said in that, I think this is going to be a very divisive game, and not for the reasons, it's going to be, there's definitely going to be a bunch of fucking incels who hate it because it's got 2 female leads. Fuck them. It's going to be divisive for legitimate reasons as well. And I am excited to talk about the legitimate reasons that I think will lead to it being a divisive game, because I think it's important to get that shit out there before the fucking meta narrative takes over, like it does with every piece of pop culture, where you just hate The Last Jedi because you're a fucking Gamergator or some shit, which did take over for a little while, and it took a long time for us to get to a point where we could talk about what we did or didn't like about The Last Jedi. I'm using Star Wars analogies because we just watched the Star Wars Squadrons trailer and my fucking dick is still rock hard, and B, I see a lot of parallels between the meta narratives for the Star Wars sequel trilogy and The Last of Us Part 2. They're both, one of them's 3 times as long as the other, but they're both there's a lot there. People say The Last of Us Part 2 is a sequel that didn't need to happen. I think that was an opinion some people shared with the Star Wars sequel as well, a sequel trilogy as well. They didn't need to happen. I think a lot of people feel that way more now that it's finished than they did beforehand. But
what I'm really annoyed about, Joab, is that I said Nate was going to be the one that brought up Star Wars 5 minutes into this podcast, and it was fucking you.
was my first bullet point was to bring up Star Wars, to be honest, but for different reasons. The reason I wanted to bring up Star Wars is I think it's comparable to The Last of Us in terms, like for me personally, and you can tell me if you relate to this, in terms of how emotional connection trumps so much, right? Like what I realized at the end of Rise of Skywalker was that while I really liked parts of that movie and parts of it fell flat, and obviously parts of it were fixing problems with The Last Jedi, ultimately the whole trilogy fucking upset me and disappointed the fuck out of me, and that Star Wars movies are rated in terms of emotional connection to them. That's why the prequels often fall flat. And when the music is amazing and it's hitting certain notes, it's like it lifts. You know, when you got Duel of the Fates blaring in your ears while Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon and Darth Maul are having it out, that's peak Star Wars. My spine is tingling. I am connected to the movie. Now, I bring that up because Last of Us is a game that I don't think has aged well in terms of its gameplay, the original. I know this because Katie is playing it next to me while I was playing Last of Us 2, which was the worst way because she got to see spoilers. I warned her, and I'm like, just don't do it this way. I'll play over there. She's like, no, it's fine. Anyways, but the gameplay hasn't aged well. But what has aged well is the storytelling, the characters, the plot, the situation, the world building, all that sort of stuff will be kind of more timeless, right?
Yeah.
So when you go into The Last of Us Part 2, if you're going into Last of Us Part 2 because you adored the gameplay of the first one, then you should love The Last of Us Part 2. But if you're going into The Last of Us Part 2 looking more than anything, your primary metric of measuring the success of a Last of Us game is your connection to the material, then it's going to be a little bit more challenging. The other thing that I wanted to bring up is, because Joby and I talked about this briefly or touched on it, and I was like, no, I'm not getting into that. Let's save it for the podcast on an offline chat, was your interpretation of the ending of the last game, right? Because that was the big thing. Like, it built up to an amazing ending with a kind of Christopher Nolan, Inception style spinning top almost, that asked the audience to determine one thing very simply, which was, does Ellie know what Joel did, or does she not? Now, I personally was of the belief that she did know, and she was kind of like, and again, that was me reading into looks. Like, she knows, and she's accepted it.
Yeah.
And the only thing that could be done in a sequel was that they would have to address that, and they do address it, right? But anyway, so before we get into that, Joby, Luke, I want to know what your take was on the ending of The Last of Us, in terms of what you thought of Joel specifically, because Joby,
Joel has this like, I guess Joel is theoretically a bad guy in that story, right? Because he's taking this young girl to die, and it's not until the end that he has a change of heart and goes and gets her back, type thing. So you see this sort of arc.
Like, for you at the end, when all is said and done, the full stop. Because I agree with that point, but like right at the end, are you like, Joel's still a bad guy, or like Joel, obviously an anti-hero, but like he made the right decision, he is redeeming himself, therefore I'm connected to him, and I think that he's good in a sense in the context of this world.
I think he's a bad guy. I think he's just trying to do what's best. Like, if you had the choice between saving humanity and killing a little girl, like, I don't know. But he kind of he ends up with this connection with her, right? And then
it's a trolley
problem, right? Yeah, it's a question of, right, it's the trolley problem, right? Which, I think has been popularized now by The Good Place, but has, been around for a long time for a lot of people. It's the idea of, would you flip the switch on the trolley to save one person if it meant killing 5 people, 5,000 people, 5 million people, 5 billion people? And then you revisit the same question, and the first time the person on the tracks is someone you don't know, and the second time the question is, okay, but what if you did know that person, and what if you were deeply emotionally connected to that person. And that's what The Last of Us is trying to do, is trying to form that connection between you, Joel, and Ellie. And it's trying to force you to reconsider, like at the start of the game, Joel's motives. I don't agree that he's the villain because he's taking a little girl to die. I think he is a hero. It's like he's still, it's an ugly job, but yeah, the little girl's gonna die.
Yeah.
The world's gonna be saved from monsterism. Like, I think I personally think it's an objective fucking win. But over the course of it, you're supposed to examine, the relationship you have with Ellie, and then examine that question over and over and over again. And I think the hope is from Naughty Dog's perspective that by the end you get to a point where you switch sides. You think, okay, well, Ellie should live. I never got there. Joel that was for me, right? Joel saving Ellie was his heel turn. It wasn't his redemption. That was him suddenly becoming the villain, which I understand is controversial, but I don't think it should be. I mean, he damns humanity.
Does that impact your enjoyment and your connection with the ending of The Last of Us?
I did. Yeah, absolutely impacted my. I think the overall, level of. I was always very confused as to how people were coming to the conclusions they were in The Last of Us when they were talking about it. I remember, I think it was the Game of the Year podcast, and Jung was on, and he was talking about how it was the best game he's played in forever, and it made him cry, and all this stuff. I'm like, Joel's the bad guy. I don't understand what you're fucking talking about. Joel becomes the bad guy. That's a villainous act. Yeah, like I mean, I'm not a fucking robot. I do understand why, but yeah, I just wholesale didn't agree with it. But the interesting thing for me is that I never made the emotional connection to Ellie, right? It never worked for me. I mean, there were certainly moments that I found to be extremely sweet and extremely moving, and I think, from a storytelling perspective, they crafted it spectacularly. But my problem was it was always an escort quest. There was never a moment where I felt like she wasn't a burden on the gameplay, and that was the problem that The Last of Us had for me. That was the reason I think that I never made the emotional connection required to make that final leap. And yeah, I upon years of fucking self-reflection and examining how we interact with games, I am able to understand why The Last of Us didn't work for me and why it worked for so many other people, because I could see how it should have worked, and I can also see that critical failure point where it didn't for me.
Yeah, and so, but even if you look at the end of that last game, again, it ends on Joel lying to Ellie, because the last conversation they have is about the Fireflies and like what has sort of happened behind the scenes. He basically says like, oh, they found other people with the immunity and tried to create a cure and it didn't work, and so that's why I came and got you. And then Ellie is like, is everything you told me true? And he's like, oh yeah, I swear to you. And she's like, oh, okay. And that's like the last line of the game, and then that is kind of again flipping it on, like, is he protecting her, or is he just lying for for it again? I don't know. But that sort of stuff is addressed in this.
I always thought he was protecting her, right?
Yeah.
I always thought he was protecting her.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's the reasons behind his protecting her. that make it villainous. He's doing it for selfish reasons, not necessarily. He's not protecting her. He's protecting himself by keeping her alive. You know, that was my interpretation. I mean, to answer your final the Christopher Nolan spinning top point, I thought that she definitely suspected, and I 100% expected this game to explore that in a vastly different way than how it did. Yeah, like I think she definitely suspected strongly that
Yeah.
she had been lied to.
I think they
Yeah.
do address it, don't they?
Do they?
I thought they
play the
did.
expansion or
Should we?
anything.
We maybe come back to that. Should we just jump into what happens at the start? Because this sort of ties into a big moment later on.
Sure.
But yeah, the start of the game, you play as Joel. It's the first character you jump in as, and you are you're with your brother, right, Tommy, and you start horseback riding back to Jackson, and that is the only time you get to play as Joel, right? I'm trying to think. I think
Pretty
that's the only
sure.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you get to, after that, that's when you kind of get to then become Ellie, I guess the main character of the game. And
Before we even get to that, right? I did not like the first fucking 2 hours of this game at all. At all. It was so linear. Like far too linear. And all I could think about, like time and time again, I was switching between, good lord, this game looks fucking gorgeous. And then I'd switch to, holy fuck, they love the smell of their own farts. Like, that was me. I was this fucking
windscreen wiper.
switching back and forward. Yeah, like, Jesus, that's gorgeous. Holy shit. Like, you didn't need to fucking throw it in my face. Like, couldn't you just let me fucking have a look myself? Like, this hyperlinear, oh, yeah, you're riding a horse and, oh, okay, but there is literally only one street-wide path for you to go down. So, yeah, look at all this stuff. You can't go to any of it, but look at how good looking it is. And I understand from a fucking game construction point of view why it is like that, and I even get why they did it. But
there's a little bit of
I
exploration
didn't
once you get to that snow area, and you're you know, you can either go into the houses and explore some of them, or you can basically just keep going if you want to.
as Ellie.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can go into these houses that inexplicably haven't ever been searched by the dozens and dozens of people who have come through beforehand. Yeah, you could go do that, I suppose. Not to mention climbing up into a dilapidated house that's standing on a single semi-rotted beam. Seems like a strong plan.
Where's your sense
in
of
a world.
adventure?
I think it's built around survival, not adventure. But yeah, like anyway. Obviously, I'm nitpicking. I just didn't like the start. I didn't like playing as Joel. I certainly didn't like that it was a fucking bait and switch. Even though I knew it was coming, I did not like the immediate attempt to remind players of being Joel. I guess I didn't appreciate what it was trying to do, and then I just thought it was far too linear for far too long. I mean, as tutorials go, it was tutorializing for fucking ages, all throughout that Ellie sequence, teaching us how to ride horses, which gets pride of place, right? It's the first thing you fucking learn how to do. And how often do you ride horses in this game?
Well, I think it's
Fuck
one at a
all.
time, isn't it? Or twice?
Twice, maybe. Yeah.
2 more
Feels
times
yeah.
after Ellie.
And right at the end, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, what the fuck? Why would? Anyway. Yeah, and then through being Ellie, super light exploration that doesn't match up with the rest of it, and then on to playing as Abby, and that was also. I just felt it was too linear. Like the game for me, The Last of Us Part 2 doesn't get good until you reach Seattle. It certainly has some fucking punch before it gets to Seattle.
Yeah.
It doesn't get good.
I think it's the
until you
prologue.
actually reach.
Like,
Yeah, but it's too long.
It is too long. It reminds me of Rockstar prologues, obviously more open, but I'm just like, can I get to the real game, please? And there is no way that you could not have cut minutes, if not hours, from this opening and achieved the same fucking thing. I mean, the snow fight mechanic bit for showing you that you can throw bricks or molotovs and stuff was like a cute touch and a way to show Jackson and cool. So I can appreciate that, and I will put up with it, and I'll tolerate it. And you better believe I'm beaming those little fucking shits in the head, all of them, multiple times. But I don't need to have 2 or 3 different horse tutorials and all this stuff. Like, you can just do, and they weren't doing it elegantly outside of that. They were just doing text pop-ups for stuff. So they weren't trying to do that thing where they're like, oh no, they're trying to turn the tutorial into a narrative.
Yeah.
Which can be great or it can be cringe depending on how long it goes on for.
Yeah.
So, and especially like you said with the horse, for them to treat that like it was going to be this thing and then it disappears. I mean, even the fucking boat, right? Like the splash screen at the start has a boat, and in the gameplay trailers leading up to it, they're like, oh, you're going to need boats to get around. And yeah, you do for like 10 minutes of the game. But it was just, it was weird. But I mean, like, this whole game, top to bottom, reeks of it's like things that were expertly realized and other things that seem like they were kind of finalized at the last minute or even cut or added. I don't know. The fact that
put out of order.
Yeah, well, we get to that, won't we? But the E3 video they showed, was it last E3 with the dance sequence?
No, that was before.
But that's was right
it?
at the
that was the one you were at, right?
Yeah, the one I was at.
Luke, you were in that 2 E3s ago.
I was in that tent, and we were like, what are we doing in this giant church thing? And then the screen came up and we were like, okay, we're in the Last of Us.
Yeah, but that's right at the end. And they show that right at the end. When you get to the end of the game, there's no reason why that should be right at the end. It very easily could have been a whole lot earlier. So there's lots of little moments where you just end up thinking, if you're not engaged with it, especially as I wasn't in the second half, you end up going, why? Why have they chosen to do it this way? And coming from The Last of Us and Naughty Dog having the pedigree of the expert storytellers that they are, and like, I'm no Uncharted fanboy by any means. I think it peaked with Uncharted 2, and then it never ever got better, except better looking, right? But also, I still love Nathan Drake and the characters and the way that they do world building and their storytelling and their set pieces, right? So I'll always play an Uncharted game for that, but I'm not like this, oh my god, Uncharted 4 it had to happen. It's a story that had to happen. I'm like, 3 probably didn't even need to happen, motherfucker.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And then so after that, you end up playing as Abby. For me, I guess that was a bit of a surprise because I didn't know, like, going into this game, I didn't really know anything about it, other than the stuff they kind of showed at E3 when I was there. So I didn't know who this character was at all and why we were playing as her. But then they kind of do a good twist, like it kind of comes up where you go back to Ellie, and then I guess obviously the big, do we want to jump into that now? The big twist, I guess, of the game that comes through.
The dead Joel in the room.
Yeah. So yeah, like Abby just.
I mean, this is in my fucking review, right? And I toyed with it for a while about how the fuck I'm supposed to approach this, but like, it happens inside of the first 200 fucking minutes of the game, right? Technically, the prologue, as far as as we all agree, it exists.
Yeah, it is.
And it is fundamental
to the story,
what the game, the actual game, is about. Yeah. So I warned. I put a spoiler warning on the review, but I don't regret talking about this. Abby,
you have to.
kills Joel, and it's rough.
She
It's-
doesn't just
it's-
kill him. She doesn't execute him. She butchers him.
She tortures him because I think the idea is that like she sort of wants to, like, because of what Joel and Ellie have done to humanity. Like, he doesn't get away with this. Like, we're gonna do a bad. Oh my gosh! Like, because they're kind of friends, right? Joel saves her, and then something bad's gonna happen when there's a line dropped about earlier on when Abby's talking to what's his name, fucking Chad, the dude.
Yeah, your boy Chad. Oh,
Not I can't remember his name anymore.
Oh,
yeah, and they talk about how they're looking for Joel, like and that this is where he is, and then you realize once they get back together, like shit's gonna go down. And when she grabs that shotgun and just fucking takes his leg off, I'm like, oh, he's probably gonna be okay. And then they show you, and he's like, his leg has a hole in it. You're like, oh fuck, it's like gonna go well.
Yep,
it's brutal.
It is extremely brutal, and I mean, first of all, let's address the idea that Joel and Tommy told their just welcomed in some strangers. Because I've seen a lot of rage about this online. I don't have a problem with it. The memes that are going around are that Joel and Tommy, these expert survivalists, are just telling their names to people. Like they're in a safe place and they're sort of the kings of this fucking place. Tommy's married to the fucking governess or whatever the fuck you call her, and Joel is like the king of the fucking scouts, right? And per everything that we've seen in the books, things have been going pretty well. It's been safe. They haven't seen too many runners or anything like that for a while, and they haven't had any bandit attacks. This chick clearly needs help. She's in need of assistance, and they help her out. Then the other thing is the other meme I've seen is the idea of Abby just rolling around like middle America murdering anyone named Joel, and that's not the case. Tommy says Tommy. They know he has a brother named Tommy, and he says his last name, right? It's Miller, right? And so that's enough. It's Joel Miller. Like, oh, we got the wrong. Like, yeah, maybe. Oh, we got the wrong Joel, whose brother is Tommy. Yeah, maybe. But we got the wrong Joel Miller, whose brother is Tommy.
Who's going to be roughly in this area?
Like,
hanging out in this specific location.
Yeah, like
in a post-apocalyptic world.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. I've got absolutely no problems with that. I just want to fucking cut that one off at the fucking pass. This murder, it's a straight up murder, and it's rough. It is fucking harsh. And my thought was they should have killed Elliot. I do not understand why they held back on that one. Like, they may as well have. But
well, you don't really hear, do you? Because as he's dying or dead on the floor, Ellie's on the ground screaming like, "I'll fucking kill you" or something like that. But then the ears start to ring out, and you can't really hear the background. Like, they're talking to each other amongst themselves, and maybe that does come back later on. I can't really remember. But I think you do hear the conversation at a later stage. But at that stage, you can't hear anything because it's just her, I guess, in shock of what's going on.
The old Saving Private Ryan cliche of the ears ringing. Yeah.
I
mean, it's effective.
Saving Private Ryan, it's shell shock, isn't it? It's actual from an explosion.
Yeah, no, that's what started it. But like I'm saying, it since then, it's like a cliche to put anytime there's an explosion or something or whatever, or a moment where they want to, hide stuff or focus on the horrors of war or violence. They do. It's become a cliche. I think it's used particularly. It's pretty effective in this moment, but like it's also secondary because I love Joel. So
Yeah.
in that moment, I'm like, okay, you're all dead. Like, and in my mind, like, okay, Naughty Dog, good luck. Like, good luck getting me. You've already made me play with Abby. I guess I'm going to play with her again later. Good luck with winning me back. Good luck with earning forgiveness. Because the original Last of Us, whatever you think about the ending, is a game that is building up to that ending.
Yep.
It sets it up really early. It's, Ellie's gonna have to be given over to the Fireflies. I don't think they introduce from memory. They don't introduce the fact that it'll kill her until
No.
really late
Not
in the
till
piece.
Super late. Yeah.
But like, I assumed that was going to happen
Yep.
in terms of escalation, just because it makes sense. Like, if it was like she has to give blood and then there's a cure, then there's no
Yeah.
stakes, right? So they had to introduce that as the stakes. But that whole game is about, like, from its setup, you get Joel with a daughter-shaped hole in his heart, right? That opening is hugely effective and impactful, and the perfect way to frame an anti-hero. It doesn't outstay its welcome, unlike the start of Last of Us Part 2, and
Yep.
it gets you immediately connected to his plight and going, fuck, who does he become, and whatever. And yeah, like you said, Joby, his mission is to transport a kid who's potentially a cure. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it's a fucking kid, if it's the leader of the free world, or a baby. The point is, this item person leads to potential cure. Cool, right? And when you meet Ellie, she's a fucking bit of a jerk and an asshole and a smartass. Obviously, defense mechanisms, and we don't really get to see her backstory until the DLC, which I think works really well because you don't need to see it. But their whole thing is like, you're not necessarily going to like her when you first meet her, but we're going to have 15 hours or however long the game is to have moments with her, and you get to play as her, and sections and cutscenes and interactions where we believe that we can earn an ending where, even if you don't agree with Joel's decision, you will understand it. You will understand it from heart to head, right? You'll get emotionally why he did it. You'll get logically why he did it. You'll get that it was what good storytelling is presenting actual dilemmas. The lesser of two evils, or having two amazingly equal options, and pick which one do you pick. And there's cheap movies where they set those things up, or stories where they set them up and they rob you of it, or they rob the character of it. They kill off two love interests is the easiest one. There's two love interests. Who they're going to end up with at the end? One of them dies. Well, they don't have a fucking choice now, so we don't get to see the choice. We just get, well, I default, like as anybody would. If you're in love with two people and one of them dies, well, I guess I'll just go with this one. Obviously, there's emotional consequences in that hypothetical, but you know what I'm saying? Like, you didn't have to make the decision, and that's where stories resonate, and that's why The Last of Us has an ending that we're talking about now in the context of Last of Us Part 2, and people have been discussing and debating. It's why I absolutely love the game, because again, the gameplay is not amazing. The friendly AI in particular is woeful. Their solution for having Ellie with you at all times but being invisible to enemy AI is utterly inelegant and immersion destroying once you notice that it's happening. And she gets in the way a lot. And your point earlier was interesting, Joby, about it sounds as though her gameplay uselessness for the most part, except those rare instances where you get grabbed and she'll brick someone, led to your inability to connect with her, which is a good point, I think, because it means that gameplay and storytelling have to even be more closely intertwined for their narrative outcomes and for their connectivity outcomes. But all of this is to say that I was on board with Joel's plight in the original game from the beginning and throughout. And when it got to that hospital scene at the end, I was literally edge of my seat, yelling at the TV like Ellie in The Last of Us Part 2. I'm gonna fucking kill you! Fucking get away from me! Like, I've never had that level of engagement. Like, running through the hospital with her, people shooting at you, like, get the fuck out of the way! Like, utterly 300% connected. So when I got to the end, I'm like, not only do I understand why Joel made that decision, he made the right decision. He made the right decision for his character, right? It was an authentic, it wasn't I'm going to sacrifice. Like, if he had chosen to kill her, it still would have been a powerful ending, but I don't think it would have resonated. Like, I don't think it would have been what do they say about the ending of a story has to be both inevitable but also unexpected.
Yeah.
I don't think it was too overly unexpected, but like the way that they carefully crafted it to create that little debate around does Ellie know, does she not know, or does she strongly suspect? When I think strongly suspect or suspect at all was exactly what's driving a lot of her motivation in the backstory that you get to play in Last of Us Part 2, right? You get to see her pulling on this thread because
Yeah.
she just doesn't, no matter what he says, no matter how many times he says it, no matter what he swears on or whatever, she's like, it doesn't sit right with me. It doesn't fucking seem right. And she looks into it. So when they killed Joel, I'm like, I'm still connected to Ellie because I love Ellie. I love Joel. I love their dynamic. One of them goes, I still doesn't make me hate the other or whatever.
Yeah.
So I was utterly connected to Ellie's story, plight, gameplay. But when you get to play as Abby from the second half, I was just like, oh fuck. Is this the end of the game? Like, is this because they meet each other, right?
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, I'll get to play as her for a bit to get up to speed. I'm like, this will be a few hours and then I want that resolution. So, but it's 10, 12 hours before you get to go back to that.
Mm.
And I'm like, that was 10 to 12 hours of me not being at all connected to Abby. Like, the gameplay was good, the fun. I like the loop. I like the, searching every high and low point to find scrap, the safe cracking, all that stuff. Loved it. But I would laugh when she died. And there were times, because she was afraid of heights, that I'd throw her off the edge of buildings. Because I fucking hated her. And I hated her the whole way through. And I think a lot of that hate has to do with the way that they've structured the events.
Like, before we get to that, before we get to the structure, right? This was the other reason why, and you hinted at it, why I brought up Star Wars, because why it so closely parallels Star Wars to me, because it's something you spoke about a lot when talking about how they were going to finish the Star Wars sequel trilogy. And that is the idea of them attempting to find a redemption arc for Kylo Ren when he has done the irredeemable, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I think in chats with you and in my review, I call Abby Kylie Ren, because that's what she is. Essentially, she is a female version of Kylo Ren. She does the irredeemable. Now, for me, right, a person who recognizes Joel as ultimately the villain of the first game, in my personal opinion, obviously. Yeah, for me, I still like Abby's actions were still irredeemable, because even like, despite Joel being the villain, he was still my player character.
Mm.
And that's something that I think that's a mistake I think they make. Or like, I don't think you can usurp the player character relationship. I think the player character relationship is stronger than, or like, almost anything in video games. It is like it's a key element of what makes video games work as a medium. And so the mistake I think they make is having you play as Joel at the start, right? I think they fuck that up from the fucking get-go, because they shouldn't remind you that he's your player character. I think because it makes Kylie Ren irredeemable to me.
So good.
It like, to me, someone who thought he was a villain, right? They had a shot at having some players play as Abby in a righteous way. Like, she could have had a righteous arc, right? But they sort of ruined it by reminding me of that connection. So she's irredeemable from my perspective, from someone who thinks that Joel is a bad guy. For people who thought he was a good guy, I mean, I feel like I don't know how it looks on the screen, and it doesn't matter to anyone not watching on YouTube, but on my screen, right, it goes from left to right. It goes me, and then Luke in the middle, and then Nate. And I feel like that is a pretty good spectrum of how we felt about Joel as a player character at the end of the first game. Me, villain, Luke, sort of in the middle, and Nate, I don't know, wants to suck Joel's dick or something, like
Obviously.
just finish him off, right? And yeah,
Whoa,
like I think
not
we've
in
got a
an
good
Abby
spectrum.
way.
But yeah, like I think that's I think we've got a pretty fucking good like lineup here to like. How did you feel about playing as Abby, Luke? Because you would have been in the middle between me and Nate. Hey,
I liked playing as Abby because
you're fucking hot.
I think
Move him to the other side.
Yeah,
I think it gives you an interesting look at stuff that and I spoke about this on the podcast, like an interesting look at things we don't normally get to see, like a different perspective, which this game does a lot. Like the who's the bad guy in this situation, and you get to see these different factions and how they're living and what their motives are and what sort of drives them, right? And yeah, Abby has this whole arc. Like when you get to play as her the second time, you were just like, why am I doing this? This doesn't make much sense. But then you get to learn about this character and sort of what drives her and what drives her people and the relationship she's got and why she doesn't like Joel. Well, maybe she doesn't like Joel because Joel killed her fucking dad. Like that's a big arc, right? And then that's you start to get these weights, these balances, and like, all right, well, okay, whose side am I on? And I thought it was going to do some really. It doesn't go there, but it could have got to a really interesting place at the end where it did like a switch on you, where you think, oh, Ellie's the good character, but really she's not. Maybe she's the bad guy. And that would have been an interesting place to explore, but they don't really go there. They do some other things, and I don't like the ending, just for the record. But I think they do really cool things during the gameplay of playing as Abby. You get to see relate like the fucking dog relationship, right? Where you're playing as Ellie earlier on, you kill a dog, and then there's like a backstory about this dog, and you're playing fetch with it and things like that. Like you get to see the repercussions of things you've done as Ellie come out later on. Something that's like a 5-second sort of quick time moment. And then later on, you're like, oh shit, like that was someone's dog, and they had a relationship with this dog, and you played fetch with it, and all this stuff. I think those are really powerful moments that makes you think about the actions that you've taken during your playthrough, and they do it a lot.
Missed opportunity to present it earlier.
I 100% agree with like Luke's analysis of playing as Abby. Like 100%. That is her value. Like I definitely see her value as a player character.
So do I.
I just didn't like her as a person, and I didn't think that there was a path back. I think they did the best they could, except for what Nate was just about to talk about. Go.
No, like to Luke's point, just quickly. What you're talking about is world building, and I absolutely agree. The world building with Abby stuff was great. The exploration of what motivates the tribalism thing, right? I much more agreed with her people, like not her, but her people. I got what they were doing. I got where they got to. It was their leader was fucking weird. Yeah, Wolf. Their leader was weird as shit.
Yeah, he was like torturing people in the basement of the stadium,
which I think like kind of undermined what they were going for, right? And
but then it shows you Abby being like walking past that and not really like she doesn't like that.
But she doesn't.
She's the top killer. She's called the top scar killer. Like she is a butcherer of people, and the scars. We get to meet the scars, and the scars are pieces of shit. So they didn't get that three-dimensionality. And even when I was reading their notes, because this is a rare game where I actually read all the notes. Usually I'm like, boring, fuck that off. Tell me a story in a better way, you pricks. But they do it really well in a really short way in this game that I'm like, why wouldn't I? And I love the world. So I'm reading these fucking notes and I'm like, these scars are religious fanatics. And then the way that the story plays out with, the two kids who are breaking away from that just helps to reinforce that they are the obvious bad guys.
Yeah.
Like the scars are, wipe them the fuck out. They're fucked. They're top to bottom fucked. What they do to their own people is fucked. Like Wolf, if they're trying to say, ooh, which side would you pick? Would you pick Wolf or would you pick Scars? Well, first of all, the obvious answer is I pick Jackson. So, but let's remove that. Wolf in a heartbeat, even with Abby there. Wolves, because they are humanized in a much better way. And I just thought it was weird that you would go out of your way to humanize one faction and then demonize another. So the Fireflies in the first game were like similar, right? Like, are they good? Are they bad? They're doing some good shit. They're doing some bad shit. And that's really cool. Like when you do that, but with the Scars, whatever. But yeah, with the story structure stuff. So you kill, as Ellie, right towards the end of your playthrough, you kill that particular dog. What's the dog's name?
That one's Bear, right? Or is that Alice?
I think it's Alice. It's at the aquarium.
Alice at the aquarium,
Yeah. And that moment in the structure of the game doesn't mean anything at that stage, especially because you've become desensitized to killing
dogs.
Like I think this is pretty universal. I'd rather kill people. I'd rather kill people than animals in games, right?
Yeah.
And the dog killing never sat well with me. It was just more of a functional, like, okay. I connected more emotionally, as in a squeamish way, with killing dogs. Like, I'd kind of end up putting mines down and then just go away and not look at it. Like, I'm like, they're going to turn into mist, and the way the engine works is by the time I go back, there won't be any parts. So I'm fine with that. But when they would call out, "Oh, Todd," when you kill one of their buddies, I'd be like, good. I'm glad he's got a name. Add him to the fucking list. Let's work our way up to Abby and kill all of you. Like, that's how fucking red-blooded vengeful I was. And I can only assume that they wanted me to feel that way because Joel deserves, I love Joel, but Joel deserves to die. Right? The consequence of Joel's action and what it led to, and remove Abby's emotional story and connection, which is, it's big enough to get you understanding her motivation with her dad being killed by Joel and rah, rah, rah. But like the Fireflies were trying to do something that is objectively good, and they've all fallen apart because of this one guy. And so there should be consequences for his action. And in this world, he deserves to die. So there's nothing wrong in a narrative sense of him dying. There's actually nothing wrong with Abby killing him or executing him, but she butchers him. So that's designed to get an emotional reaction beyond the logic, right? Like, so she just, sat him down on his knees, had some fake trial with all of her buddies, like real quickly, and then said, we condemn you to death for your crimes against humanity, blah, 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 shot him. I wouldn't like it because I love Joel, but I'd understand it. And then but she butchered him. And so I think in terms of structure, going back to that point, that they should have even saved the death of Joel until way later. Like, he's absent from the story. People are talking about him being gone. So we know that you might know that he's dead, but you don't actually get to see it. I think it's in seeing how she does it that so incensed me against her. And I could see when I started playing her sections, had I played those earlier, had I played them before I had seen her do it. Now, I suspected when I first played as her that she was hunting for Joel. I hadn't read the spoilers. I suspected, she's looking for someone, so she's looking for Joel. There's only one person out here. Because he wasn't talking about finding a cure. She was talking about finding someone with those dead eyes, like she's looking to kill someone. It's got to be Joel. If it's a random person, they've missed a trick here. So they're looking to kill Joel. Okay, cool. That still would have been okay. But if I'd spent more time getting to know her, plus, and I'm sure Joby will talk more to this, but the way that the game is structured in terms of the day feels like it could have really easily been like day 1, Ellie, Abby, day 2, Ellie, Abby.
Sure.
So there is, in my opinion, a game a story that doesn't have to add anything, but if it was re-edited in terms of the order of its events, would have a better chance at winning over. And I refuse to believe I'm the only person in the world who loves Joel, and agrees with his choice at the end. So would have a better chance.
I think you are. I'm pretty sure I'm the fucking exception.
Right.
Like, I think you are. There are way more people that are like you than there are like me, of people who finished The Last of Us. Because most people who played the game I played and was annoyed as I was with Ellie's presence in what I felt was awful stealth would have just stopped fucking playing. So they never even would have gotten that far. So I think, just from a fucking purely numbers point of view, you are in the majority. So I think you and Luke are the people that they would want to be winning over with that stuff.
Yeah, but that makes it even more detrimental then, right? But it sounds like, so Luke, why I flagged what you brought up as world building is because did you connect with Ellie, or did you just connect with the world around her?
Abby.
Oh, no, Abby, sorry. Fucking Abby, Ellie, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Because I think she does have an arc of you see the process of her going through thinking about whether she has made the right decision with this wolf organization, and you see her sort of betray them, but take under these two scars under her wing and then start murdering her own people. And there's an arc in that. So I get what you're saying. I think it could have been really interesting to do the you'd obviously have to remove all the references to Joel being dead, and then have it play alternate between the two. And then if you get to the end of your playthrough, or the end of them two finally meeting, and that's when you find out that Abby, this character you've been playing all along, is the one that killed this person, that could be pretty, you'd be like, oh shit, what happened there? And I actually did some interesting stuff, which I'll talk about later, when those two characters first met. But even with all that happening, I think that particular ending that they've got in there doesn't work even more if you end up doing the cut you're talking about, at least. Because it just doesn't work.
I think it would require a significant amount of work to, there would be a significant amount of work required to get it to a place where you could not have Joel die early. I think it would be narratively more powerful if it happened at the end of day 2, but you would have to rewrite large chunks of the game.
I don't think so, because I think that they can talk about him being dead, or not, just gone, because they don't really say dead, do they? They say gone, he's gone. So you can interpret that. If you're in denial, you're like, he's gone as in he's missing.
Yeah.
But you're like, something's not right. Something's not right.
It's a Shyamalan twist. You get in there and then fucking, oh shit.
It wouldn't be a Shyamalan twist, because it wouldn't be huge, because it would be an obvious solution that he's dead, but we don't know who's killed him. We don't know how he's died, and we certainly don't know, the way in which he is dispatched.
You'd have to rewrite, the motivation for Ellie to be in Seattle. You'd have to go on to find Joel, I suppose. But why would she then be murdering every motherfucker that she can see? Apart from, but she's looking for people by name. She's tracking them on a map.
Wouldn't that be a better way to help to balance the love for Ellie versus the growing connection to Abby? Because we get to see her being this cold-hearted killer, which is what Abby is anyway, although she's a little bit more structured in her family killing bullshit, whatever. But wouldn't that be a way to go, why is Ellie killing everyone? I'm not comfortable with this.
I just think it would make it a little bit too obvious that they'd killed Joel.
No, but I'm not even trying to preserve that as a twist. It's a reveal that comes later. It's more that I saw how she killed him.
Right.
And if I hadn't seen that, and she was she butchered him that. If I hadn't seen it, I could even been told that killed it. And I'm like, I still haven't seen it. So I'm kind of still in denial. Like I'm like, okay, I'm open to connecting with this person. I'm a little offside, even if I know that she's probably killed him or I suspect, but I'm being introduced to like that stadium level would have been amazing had it not been at a point where not just after she'd butchered him, but after I'd played with Ellie for
3
fucking
days.
12, and it had been reiterated
yeah.
time and time and time again that I'm hunting down this person, and I understand why I'm hunting them down. I saw what they did. I fully understand why she's hunting down everyone fucking associated with that.
Yep.
So I got it. All I'm saying is, instead of me going rewrite this, change that, I'm just talking about a reordering of events. You'd put a lot more of the kind of later or mid to later flashback sequences with Joel so up front, so that he's there, he's present. There's weirdness, there's a strained relationship, and if you did want to, like, there would still be an element of people, I imagine, not that many, who would believe that gone meant he'd just left, and he may have left because the flashbacks show us they had a fucking massive fight, and she said, "I'm fucking done with you," right? So all I'm seeing when I'm seeing these scenes is like potential, and I would love to believe that they fucked around with this, right? That they cut things in different orders, and that they got in NDA'd, game testers and said, "We're going to need 26 hours of your fucking life, but we're gonna make you play this, and we don't want you to say anything, but actually we want you to emote out loud maybe, but we're gonna telemetry data watch you through a screen," and they just saw what was the most effective version. Because jumping sideways a slight bit, far be it from me, I don't normally get angry at people who give games 10s, right? I'm like, fuck you, you're a clown. But this game hinges on, for me, can you forgive Abby? And if the answer's yes, then you experience emotionally a much different game to me. And I cannot comment on whether that emotional experience of the last half of the game would have elevated it to a position. I mean, I'm with Luke. I still think the ending is a cop out, no matter what way you cut it. The ending is problematic. I'm not going to. We haven't heard of what you really think about it yet, but I can't get shitty because it's storytelling that's judged by connectivity, right? So Last of Us, for me, I gave it a 9.5 when it came out, and I stand by that review, not for its gameplay reasons. It was of its time. It doesn't hold up. It's not a 9.5 today if you take the gameplay and all the bullshit into account. But the emotional impact, the connections to the characters the entire way through, the storytelling, the music, the world building, still absolutely holds up. And I was connected to that game from start to finish, from the opening scene to the final scene, emotionally connected to the characters and their plight. Not half a game, man. And that's what I spent the second half of the game just re-editing it in my head to go, would I have felt differently about dog killing, for instance, or that one dog moment? And it's a quick time event moment, effectively.
If you like 100%, if you do day 1 Ellie, day 1 Abby, day 2 Ellie, day 2 Abby, that game is better. There is no doubt in my fucking mind. Like, when they released it on PS5, do a cut in that order, and I guarantee you it is a better fucking game. I guarantee you. It is, like, narratively, it is told that way. Do you even fight a dog in day 1 of Seattle or day 1 Ellie? You don't fight it until the start of day 2. So you're fucking introduced to the dogs in day 1 Abby, and then you start killing dogs, and then you learn more about the dog, and then you fucking murder that dog. Like, just from a dog perspective, it makes so much more sense to fucking do it day 1, day 2, day 2. Like, holy shit. I could not stop thinking about that. Like, I think you make like, you've sold me on putting the Joel death later, 100%. But like, while I was playing, all I was thinking was day one. Like, also, like there's just so much about it. Like, the hospital, you go to the hospital, right? And you murder everyone, and then you walk through it and learn everyone's name. Yep. Except now, in the game as it is, you're 10 hours removed from that fucking point, and you're like, yeah, this probably would have been emotional.
If it was first, right?
It
From a gameplay point of view, you would get, and it doesn't show off the entirety of the hospital, which I thought was, I swear there has to have been some interference, right? Because it feels like there's a setup that comes after the payoff, because you get to walk through that opening part of the level and you lose nothing, because if you're one of those fans like me, or probably you guys as well, who've watched the gameplay videos, they showed the opening parts of that section. They didn't show the entirety of the hospital, which was cool, because that I fought deep into that first section. But you would have walked through that first bit as Abby, met everyone's names, and as the player, even as the tactical player, you're thinking, oh, what if I end up coming back here later? Okay, there's a guard up there. And you don't lose anything for that. You just get the player involved more. And if they don't miss that, they're just like, I'm passively enjoying this, I'm not thinking anything about it, and they come back later, they're like, oh, fuck, this is that. So either way, it seems like a win, right? Like an easy win.
And it could play into that twist a lot better as well. That you were talking about of not knowing Joel's fate or leaving it till later on.
Yeah,
because that's something they touched on with the marketing of the game, right? Is they kind of put this ruse in that he's a character. I don't know if you remember the very first trailer reveal that they did, and it's like,
what have you done, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's like Ellie on the couch on a bed playing guitar, right? And then Joel walks in, right? But if you look at that trailer now, you realize that Joel's not there, technically, right? Because she's talking to maybe her, I don't know, imagination, or talking to herself. Because that scene just doesn't work, because she says, I'm going to kill them all, type thing. So you can understand that that is something that they could have played with, right? By having rejig some of these events and make it seem like he's still around, but then later on,
maybe they did
an
Arkham Knight thing, right? Like, I get the impression that they would have played around with that whole Arkham Knight. Are we allowed to talk about spoilers from other games or not?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so like the Joker's presence in the Arkham Knight, right? Like, which I thought I didn't love Arkham Knight, but I loved that part. Like, I loved that he was there and he was haunting him, even though I'm dead, motherfucker. I'm not dead. Like, I'm still in your head, type thing. So maybe they did play around with that, and that would make sense, right?
Yeah.
But for me, they missed a trick in, like, going right back to the beginning of what we talked about with there was only the potential to harm making a sequel, right? Like, if you cannot make a sequel that's as good as emotionally as the first one, or better than, then don't make it. And I think the only question that needed to be answered at the end of The Last of Us was, does Ellie know, and also what is her response? That's the only things that would have been of interest to explore in a sequel. And all of that is relegated to backstory and cutscenes.
Yeah.
So it's like they're not interested in talking about it. We're not interested in talking about the big thing that matters. We're going to have this other conversation. And you're like, this could have almost have been The Last of Us Part 3, right?
Yeah.
And just talking about like the backstory, we touched on it a moment ago, but the whole like Ellie and Joel fighting, you think the entire time that they have had a fight and that was their last interaction with each other, and it's not until later on that you actually find out like that, no, it was resolved, but it lingers on you of like, fuck, they had a fight and now he's gone.
Do you know what I wish? I wish that they had gotten the tip on Joel from when Ellie went to the Firefly Hospital. I wish they had tracked her back from that. She goes to the Firefly Hospital and works out the extra details.
Oh, yeah.
How good would that have been?
They should have done that. They should have totally done. There's another trick missed, Joby.
Yep. Like, I think a lot of those flashbacks are really good. Like, the fucking acting in this game is spectacular.
The museum thing is phenomenal. It's so good.
Yeah, because that was, you could tell that was their how do we match the giraffe moment from the first game. And they literally tipped their hat to it. Right? And it works. That scene totally works. And I usually hate walkie-talkie scenes, but I never have hated them in The Last of Us when it's Joel and Ellie. You know, just bonding, shooting the shit because. Yeah, it's really good expert characterization.
I spent so long in there looking at every single.
I did everything.
That was
why wouldn't you?
Literally everything. Yeah. It was, and then I'm like, the giraffe moment. That's pretty cute. And then they took it. They equaled it. Like I'm like, oh yeah, good nod. But no, the spaceship.
The space capsule bit. I think they surpassed it. To be honest, I think they did.
It was so
like
good.
That space capsule bit was so good. I'm like, what kind of birthday gift can you give to someone, in the post-apocalypse and it's like his gift game is intimidating. I'd hate to be friends with Joel because I'd just say, don't get me gifts because I'll just end up giving you a fucking Bunnings gift card,
Yeah. Like the flashbacks are fucking phenomenal. Again, we just come back to I think it was cut out of order. I mean, if I hate to belabor the point, but that is a bold-faced lie on this podcast. Like I can't get over like narrative arc-wise, right? Ellie descends to villainy, and Abby literally ascends as a better person than her environment. And why are they not directly juxtaposed against one another? I can't get over the fucking formatting of this game, man.
And they are because in their minds because it's a game of two halves. But that's the problem, right? It would be like, I mean, I haven't read it. You'll be able to correct me if I'm wrong, Joby. But like Game of Thrones is structured from one chapter to chapter being one person's perspective, right?
Yeah.
And that wouldn't really work for a show. That's why when Game of Thrones was at its best as a TV show, it was moving between different perspectives and it was building this grander narrative by withholding and giving information. I mean, that is what I have distilled my problems of The Last of Us Part 2 down to is I think the best storytelling is you're an information dealer and you know when to hold on to something and you know when to give it to the audience. And I think after, like, I don't know how they've botched it. Like that's the thing that makes sense to me. And like when I was really upset about it, I was like, it's either it's arrogance. No, it had to be arrogance for me. It's like it's storytelling arrogance. They felt that they could do what they did to Joel that early in the game and then win you back. But not only that they could win you back after having half a game with Ellie and then spending an entire other thing. And then you end up going back to Ellie for a fucking weird epilogue that it was inevitable though. It had to be because they hadn't resolved the big question of like, they have to confront each other in a way where Ellie has the choice to kill Abby. It had to get to that. And so
I don't know. After, like, I got to the farm bit, right? We're just fucking leaping right into the end now. I told you we would at the start when we were spoiler alerting.
Before we get to that, just quickly, in the engagement where they get to each other at the cinema, the movie theater, you're playing as Abby during that first engagement. I just stood there and let Ellie kill me.
Too. Yeah, me too.
Just to see what would happen.
Yeah, I did that as well.
I was yelling at the screen, I don't want to kill Ellie.
Yeah.
Like, because I didn't want to, right? Like, I just didn't want to. I didn't want to kill Ellie. Like, it didn't matter. I go back to the fact that it didn't matter that I thought that Joel was the villain. He was still my fucking player character. And I felt that despite everything, Abby hadn't done enough to redeem herself.
Yeah.
And I honest to God think if they had juxtaposed, if they'd done day one, day two, the fucking the Job cut of The Last of Us Part 2, right? Then maybe I would have like felt different. Yeah, maybe I would have because it would have been so starkly contrasted. What the fuck?
Words.
Fuck them. Yeah, like it would have been so obvious. Like Ellie's descent and Abby's descent would have been so obvious that it would be difficult to ignore. And if you hadn't seen the death scene until maybe even after this sequence, there's just, it is literally a case of the only issues I have with this story are how it is fucking laid out, right? Structured, yeah. And but that's not a small thing, you know.
You guys have played the first 2 Mafia games, right?
Yeah.
And if I'm allowed, yes, Luke. And if I'm allowed to talk about other spoilers, how you kill a protagonist is Mafia 2. That was perfect.
Yeah.
You remember what happened, Luke?
Yeah, you find out that because I think the ending of Mafia 1, it's like a the stinger or something like that, or it might even be in the game where like the character dies as an old man, right?
Yeah,
and then you get to relive that mission in 2.
And like, I just that whole mission, I had this bad feeling.
Yeah,
like I'm like, this street looks familiar. They're talking about going to kill some old man. I'm like, oh, please don't let it be it. But by that stage, we are utterly endeared to the characters, and I was like, okay, cool, I'm on board with it. It's heartbreaking, but it's cool. So there is an example existing in games of how to do it. Like, they must have had massive fights about this in the office. Just about I would fucking hope. It just seems weird that they're trying to tell a really complex story, and they've delivered in such a boring, you start with Ellie, and then you go to Abby, and then you come back to Ellie. Like, okay, cool, right? Like, isn't it just, doesn't it seem a bit uninspired for what they're trying to achieve?
Yeah. Christopher Nolan me. Just do some cutting. Have it play out differently.
100%.
But anyway, I just wanted to mention that section before I jumped into the blog.
Absolutely. I mean, so I did exactly the same thing. I just let Ellie kill me because I didn't want to fucking kill him
multiple times. Like, every time it moved to the next iteration of the boss fight, you're like, all right, I'll step on a proxy mine. Okay, I have to reset and do this again.
Because I think that removes the player choice, right? Away from you as making a decision, being like, oh, I actually need to do this. Like, otherwise they get a failed screen.
So they remove agency, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Another weird thing
I have such a big problem with. But that was when I realized that I couldn't not kill Ellie, or not kill Ellie, as it were. That's when I realized, or that's when I guess came to terms with the fact that I was simply playing their story. I wasn't, I wasn't making choices.
It wasn't a choose your own adventure.
yeah, I was just watching it play out, which I became fine with. So when we went to the farm as Ellie, I was like, are you fucking joking?
I was so angry.
Are you fucking joking, motherfuckers? This is how you fucking end your game? And then I spent way too long on the farm, and I actually came to accept it. I'm like,
oh, you didn't think it was a fake out?
No, I didn't.
Oh, really? Because I did.
I thought they were going to Red Dead Redemption,
and then I just sort of it went on long enough that I'm like, well, this is it.
This is the end of the game.
No. Like, okay, I have lots of problems with their storytelling, but this was like, I'm like, I know that this is fake because we didn't get to see Ellie choose it. That's the only thing that matters. If Ellie had said to her girlfriend, whose name eludes me,
Dina.
Sorry.
Dina. Yeah. If she'd said to Dina, like, and it would have been effective. Like, she's just had the shit kicked out of her by this giant woman, and it's like, fuck. I've tried it on. I can't do this. We've just lost someone else. She almost killed this person that I love. No, I am making the decision. We're going to the farm, right? It doesn't even matter what Dina thought. Like, whether Dina agreed or disagreed, assumedly she would agree because she's, pregnant. She's not nuts. That would have been okay because she made the decision, right? But because we didn't get to see that conversation or that decision process, I'm like, if it had ended like that, if that had been the actual ending, it would have been a massive fail upon a massive fail, right? For me. Like that would have been the most unforgivable thing about the game, is that they not only robbed us of agency, they'd robbed their main character.
Well, yeah,
Fucking
I personally came to terms with it. I'm like, oh, all right, that's where it ends. And then we switched to Abby. I'm like, I guess I get to see her ending. And what I thought was going to happen was she's going to reach the Fireflies and tell them that she knew where Ellie was, or that Ellie was still out there, and that she could get to her. Right?
You're talking about part 3, Joby, aren't you?
I was thinking they were going to give us a part 3 like ending, and like, I mean, absolutely they could still go there for part 3 based on how part 2 does end. But yeah, that's what I thought was going to happen, because I mean, after that, right, and Ellie shows up, has to go get her revenge, I guess, which I just didn't agree with anymore. I
did.
like yeah, I know you did, but I didn't. Like, I wasn't on board with Abby, but it seemed like she'd moved on, and was trying to do something positive with her life, and she was, helping out Lev, and she seemed like, she had become a, if not a good character, a good enough character. It was like, okay, so now Ellie wants revenge, and then you go there, and I'm like, I just don't think I need revenge.
You don't think? Okay, hang on. You don't think that? Like, I thought that they handled the revenge bit really well at the end of the barn sequences, because Ellie can't accept, like, she can't let it go, because when she goes to save that little lamb, and she has the flashback, so she is still going like, this isn't finished. I still am having massive panic attacks over what happened. I can't let it go, is what I felt that they were trying to convey in that moment. Like, so whether she chose to act on her revenge ultimately in the end, when it got to it, was kind of secondary at that point to the fact that she felt that she had to, despite everything that she had, that she was haunted, man. Like that's what I took from it. I liked that bit.
Why wouldn't people be haunted in the post-apocalypse?
Oh, totally. She's been through some shit outside of that. But this specific thing, and I liked that what triggered it in that moment wasn't like blood or something. It was just this little lamb cowering, screaming, like something really normal. She didn't go into it like feeling like, I have to be aware of some little trigger moment happening here. She's like, oh, I'm just living my life, and holy fuck, I'm back there. So I thought that was a really good way to show that she had to confront, one way or another. She had to confront.
I guess I didn't feel it, because I guess, from my perspective, again, going back to it, Abby ascended and Ellie descended. And, as much as I didn't want to kill Ellie, Abby won the fight between the two of them.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I didn't want it to end that way under any circumstances. But, yeah, from a fucking, I don't know, because, I mean, it's so tricky when you have to inhabit both characters, right? When they're both the player character for the player, right? You will, like, barring some sort of, I guess, violent rejection of the concepts like you had, Nate, like, you will make a connection to your player character inevitably. That's just how video games work, right? And so I had made a connection to Abby, and I had seen that she was, a decent person, and she was trying to be better, and she had won the fight with fucking Ellie, albeit by my hand, but nevertheless, she'd won it. So that was the end of it to me.
But that was Abby's terms, right? That's the thing. That thing about that sequence, and why it wouldn't have sat well with me if that was ultimately going to be the final confrontation between them, was because that was Abby.
Does the final confrontation as it stands sit well with you?
No, fuck no, because I didn't get to murder. I didn't get to murder her, so no, No, but the point is that Ellie had to choose it. It was Ellie's story, right? At the very least, they set it up at the start as Ellie's story. They didn't actually set it really up as a shared story, despite that one little moment or half hour, whatever, where you get to play as Abby. There's a good 12 hours at the start of all Ellie. It's Ellie's story.
Yeah.
Cool. Had they intercut, then it would have been like, this is a shared protagonist story. Cool.
Yeah.
However, wherever they put the Joel death stuff, it doesn't matter. Like, just if they'd introduced that earlier.
Yeah.
And I could acknowledge, by the way, while I was playing, I could acknowledge that certain things would have worked on me. To your point earlier, Luke, Abby absolutely has an arc and has a redemptive arc that I think would have had a really good chance on winning me over had they not presented events in the way they did, and had they not only killed Joel the way they did, but then went and spent 12 hours of me having my hurt and upsettedness and sheer fucking blind fury validated by playing as Ellie and being reminded of that for half a fucking game.
Yeah.
Distract me from it. Take me away from it. Even if I'm yelling at her, Abby, initially. Even if you want to keep the death thing up front. Would have had a better chance. I at least would have been able to connect to the characters around her a bit better. Because when in the hospital, I don't know about you guys, but in the hospital with that doctor chick, when Ellie goes to confront her, and they have that kind of tense thing, and they humanize her quite well, and then she fucking disses Joel, in a disgustingly unforgivable way. I enjoyed kicking the shit out of her too, because of that fucking reason.
I was like, oh yeah, like she's not a bad person, and then she said it. I'm like, well, you're gonna die, clown.
And even for me, I'm like vengeful. I'm like, oh, she's actually she's a doctor. She's pretty good. And then she says that line, and I'm like, you had me, and even I'm like, no, okay, I'm gonna look forward to butchering you as well, because some of those other like side dudes that you kill, they're kind of like, they're fine. Like, I didn't get upset when they die, but again, if you'd had all of the backstory with the Abby's love interest dude before
Owen,
he gets shot in a cutscene, and the pregnant chick, and I'm like, okay, cool, but she was also there, and so she has to die.
When you like, okay, so I think they couldn't. I think they wanted to avoid you shooting a pregnant chick. But
why? Wouldn't that be wouldn't that be one of those moments where you would pause though? Like, wouldn't that be a powerful?
Yeah, I wonder if it would be a bridge too far. Like from a standards point of view, you know?
Yeah.
Like
you can't go around shooting kids. That's just another.
You're not allowed to shoot kids in games, right? And you know, I think.
But they were going for an edgy
discussion about that specific moment that would not be entirely constructive.
Well, look, she can stay for cutscenes if you guys are pussies about it. But
Exactly what I'm about to say. You should have gotten to shoot Owen at the very least, because when I think about Ellie's ultimate arc, she actually doesn't, like, as player character, she does a lot in cutscenes that you don't get to do as player, which divorces you from that connection again. And maybe that semi on purpose, but I think more accurately, it does rob the player of the catharsis they need to maybe get over or like accept Abby's actions even a little bit, you know? Like the player needs to have done that. They need to have killed Owen at least.
Do you think by
some of the revenge?
By killing Owen, there would have been an argument for like if you'd done it especially, there would have been an argument for players to make that that was the point at which revenge had been enacted, because Ellie was killing the person that was most important to Abby.
How do you mean?
Well, Joel is most important.
Oh, so that's that. Yeah, so that's the.
So that's like
that's
if
the
you're doing that
arc.
weird numbers
Yeah.
game on
Yeah.
where does justice lie in a revenge story,
Yeah.
then that's
Yeah.
they could have
You couldn't
and
make
Abby
an
could have said that.
argument. Yeah.
I mean, you'd have to add dialogue, which I was trying to avoid earlier. But Abby could
Yes.
say, like, and in Abby letting Ellie live after that, not just you killed my friends, like
And my
you
dad.
killed the person. Well, yeah, you killed the person that meant the most to me. Would be
Yeah.
something that I imagine would go through, like, penetrate Ellie's rage, and she'd be able to at least go, "Oh fuck!" Like
that's what I was thinking.
samesies.
Yeah.
There is a screen somewhere, and I don't remember where it is. I haven't played this game for a week and a half now, or something like that, so things are a bit cloudy. But there is a scene where you are playing as Ellie, and I remember it being red, and I don't remember if that was because she was really angry or if it was just the lighting in the scene. But you are pressing a button prompt and killing
Was the
somebody,
lighting?
and it's
That
like
was
3
the
times you
doctor
do it.
chick.
That was the doctor. Yeah.
I was wondering if anyone didn't actually press the prompts and whether it would do anything, but I imagine from
I
what we've
left it for
discussed,
a while.
I did.
And she just
did
stood
nothing.
there.
Yeah, and again, it's forcing you to do things that you might not want to do. I mean, I'm a sick fuck, so I wanted to do that. Also, that was the chick that dissed Joel. Although, you know what? To be fair, I probably would have beat the shit out of her to get the information as Ellie, and then I would have left her to turn because she was infected, right?
Yeah.
And that was
Yeah,
cool.
that
Like,
would've
there was a
been the-
cool reveal moment when that
would've
chick
been the fucked
realized.
up moment.
But when she realized earlier, when
she's
she's
immune.
like,
Yeah.
you're in the spores, and it's like, holy fuck, you're her, and you're still alive, and that's like this little hope moment of like, there's still a chance of a cure. Oh wait, look at the situation I'm in. Like, I have pissed off the one person in the world who I want on side.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot I could have done with that.
Should we talk about the ending then, and then go into stuff that was a bit further in? So me particularly, I didn't like the ending. It wasn't for me. I thought because like, imagine my disappointment when we end up in that fucking farm, right? And we're in this farm, and I'm like, what the heck is going on? And then Tommy comes along, and I've heard rumors about this lady, and then you're like, oh yeah, here we go. And then you finally get to this moment, and she doesn't die. I'm like, God damn it, what the fuck?
Can we just touch on Tommy for a second?
Yeah.
Does anyone else feel that last scene was so out of character for him?
Yeah.
That like earlier he'd been set up to be this guy who was like, I don't know, Ellie, maybe we'll go and get revenge. We should probably let it go. And then he goes by himself, assumedly to protect her, to be like, I'm already going to do this. And then he turns up at the end and is like, what the fuck are you doing?
Promised me.
Plus, why would have a flashback with Tommy being this expert sniper? It's like, you know where she is. Go limp over there, get up in a tower, and just fucking pop her in the head.
Yeah.
So it just felt so jarring that would, like, I don't think they needed that, because they could have just had the vision, right? They still could have had the vision of the little lamb, and that would have been fine. I guess they wanted to show us that Tommy was still alive, but we didn't really need to see that. It's probably stronger if he's dead, or if we're wondering if he's dead. Anyway, sorry, that's all I wanted to say. I'm just glad I'm not alone about Tommy feeling off.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just didn't like the sort of overall ending. I mean, when they're in the water and they're having a fist fight, that's a really cool combat sequence, and I was like, all right, this is where we're going to go. But then it kind of it doesn't really escalate to the point where I thought it was going to. She just kind of walks away, feeling like she's won. And I'm like, damn it.
I, first of all, did not think that Ellie should be going into that fucking slaver ranch, the Rattlers ranch.
Except for gameplay reasons.
Except for the gameplay in that fucking area was fucking top notch.
The best of the game.
It was absolutely the best of the game. But I did not like. I'm going in there. I'm like, of course I'm going to murder all of you slavers and you clear pieces of shit. Obviously everyone's going to die, and I took my time and I killed fucking everyone, and I found some very creative ways to do it.
With the zombies.
I used the zombies.
Why wouldn't you?
I used the zombies numerous times. I'd set up trip mines, and then I'd stand up and shoot in the fucking air, so they'd run over, and then I'd lie down, so they'd have to run up to actually get an angle on me, and then explode, just to fucking make it happen, right? Like, I love that. I love that sequence. I thought it was extremely entertaining from a gameplay perspective. Obviously, that entire paragraph, that everything I just said makes me sound like a psychopath, but whatever.
Hard act to follow, buddy.
Yeah. But I got down to where Abby and Lev were being crucified, and actually, wind back a bit. Before I even went into the slaver encampment, I was thinking, why would I go in here? Like, there's no scenario where I would deliberately fight my way through probably dozens of heavily armed automatic weapon wielding motherfuckers just to kill someone who is already being tortured. What the fuck is like? What the fuck is the point? Of course you would. Of course you would.
I'm back, baby.
Yeah, he's back on top of the psycho states. I just sat there thinking, why am I doing this? Like, I didn't like. That's my problem. Is that I remember that I'm not. That player and player character are not in sync, that their motives are not in sync. And then I forget again, and then I'm like, why the fuck am I doing this? And then I'm reminded again. Personally, it's a big problem I find with Naughty Dog games, the disparity between the player characters' motives and the players' motives are often at odds. But by the time I got down to where Abby and Lev were being crucified, and I cut them down, and Ellie walks over to the boat, I thought she'd made a choice. Is that enough of a choice for you, Nate? Like to
absolutely. Like the whole point was that she had to choose it.
Nah, I got to do this. She gets out a knife, which is a dog act, right? Like,
yeah, in a fisticuffs fight. Nah, come on.
Obviously, she's not gonna beat this Amazon with her fucking bare hands, even though the Amazon has been crucified for days.
Didn't work out too well the first time.
Hey,
didn't work out too well the first time.
Exactly, but still, it's a shitty fucking move to bring a knife to a fucking fist fight.
Well, she could have shot her. Come on, should have shot her.
She also could have just done that.
Or should have brought a golf club. If it was me, I would have brought a golf club.
You would have gone all in. You were like, just wait here.
Mate, if you're going to be poetic, be poetic.
You know, I'm not going to cut you down from the chains until I can find a fucking golf club.
I would have had it with me the whole time.
And just lift it up.
Luke's on top!
Luke raises to the fucking top.
No.
Yeah, like... I'm like, don't fucking we don't have to have this fist fight. What the fuck is the point of this? And then she's drowning her, and I'm like, right, I don't get a choice in this because I deliberately tried to not drown Abby. I deliberately tried to not do any of this. Like, I understand that you guys were
like a motherfucker. I was in there.
Like, how are you okay with?
I was backing up to the boat to see if there was any context.
I waited a pretty long time for the chick at the hospital before beating her to death. Like, but then you're like, oh yeah, I was bashing this. I'm like, fucking, let's go. Like, fucking,
Luke's on my side now, motherfucker.
For fuck's sake. God damn it. Anyway, I'm like, yeah, no, I don't want to kill Abby. Like, fuck it. Like, and then I didn't get to kill her anyway. So I don't know. It annoyed me. It was a dissatisfying ending from that point of view. And then obviously we smash cut to walking through an empty house, and
she's lost Dina.
Yeah,
and the kid.
But
and are you gonna play the guitar again?
Yeah, she can't.
How clunky were those fucking play the guitar moments? I'm like, can I not?
Yeah. Although when you get the practice guitar, I spent quite a bit of time fucking about with that.
I've seen some videos of people, making like proper songs.
Yeah,
It was pretty cool.
See, that's cool, but like when it was just
yeah.
a lead into a cutscene, like
Yeah.
play the first 6 notes and then I'll take care of the rest, champ.
Yep.
Yeah. It
And
felt
also
like, you know,
the
I'll be-
timing of it, it didn't really give you a good indication of like when you should be playing the notes, because you kind of just strum
Yeah.
them and then it goes into her playing. You're like, that sounded nothing like whatever I was doing. Because
but like
the
it didn't
sounds are
also
similar.
have long versus short. You know how she'd do a full strum versus just a
Yeah.
single note, and sometimes you'd do a full strum and she'd just play the single note. And I'm like, I guess I was supposed to do that, but I had no way of knowing. It just felt like, you know, when Connect first came out and every first party Xbox game had to have Connect integration in some way. It just felt like that. They're like, it's a first party game. It's got to have the touchpad used in a way that is like more than just as a button. And I'm like, it doesn't though.
Don't mind it. It's fine.
I don't
was
think it added
interesting.
anything though. Yeah.
No.
Well, but to your point earlier, Joby, I think that don't you, like you're talking about Ellie's descent, don't you think it's a perfect kind of like exclamation mark for the fact that she's getting these constant reminders for how far am I willing to go to do this, and she still keeps doing it. I still hate the full stop at the end, but the going into the slaver thing I think made perfect sense for me. I really enjoyed the moment where she frees the slaves and then she's like, yeah, where the fuck's Abby? like it's like, oh, this is a moment for her to be like, oh, I'm freeing slaves. People are looking at me like I'm a hero. I could actually just roll with this. And she's like, nah, it's not what I'm here for, guys. Get out of my way.
Yeah.
I will kill you if you fucking get in my way.
Yeah. But that was the thing, right? It was just such a disconnect for me. She's gone through this whole journey to get here, gets on the beach, beats the shit out of her, and then just leaves. I don't know. I just didn't feel like that was
weak
enough.
sauce. It was fucking weak sauce. And it was so much like
Shit ending.
tune back in for The Last of Us Part 3 when we properly resolve this, right?
Maybe.
So it wasn't the same sort of resonating ending as the original. Joby, we're going to have a fight again because I touched on this and deliberately didn't go into it. When, well, in an offline chat, I should clarify, when you are drowning the person who absolutely deserves to be killed, undisputably, I didn't think anyone would disagree with me, Joby. And Ellie has that flashback moment to Joel, not covered in blood, not with a golf club in his head, a little happy moment. For me, I thought that was Naughty Dog telling me I was doing the right thing, that this was going to give her peace. Because in the lead up to that, all of her flashbacks to Joel in moments of violence or at home or whatever had been Joel is bloody. And so if they had saved that flashback moment for when Abby had left, they would have been telling me, my interpretation, that she had peace. Instead, they're showing me this little flashback moment of a happy Joel on a porch while she's choked. And I'm like, okay, this is her peace. And then she stops. But she stops because she has a happy thought about Joel. I just found it so confusing. Like, what are they trying to tell me here? She has stopped because all she needed to do was 4/5 choke Abby to let it go. Like, is that what they're saying? Or I don't know. It did my head in.
My interpretation was that she was recalling how she felt when she found out what Joel had done and confronted him with it, and then resolved in her own way that she wanted to forgive Joel and do her best to do that. Right? What's the line she uses? I don't know. It's a good line. Whatever.
I want to. Yeah, I do. I can't forgive you, but I want to work on it.
Yeah.
But the problem is they once again they show that scene in its entirety after the flashback. Had they shown that full scene about forgiveness, I would have got it. But in the moment, I'm like, what? She's having a happy vision of a smiling Joel, and then she stops. I'm like, ha. Weird.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. So, but okay, so I remember it better now. I remember our yeah. So I figured that she was remembering the good in Joel. You know, that he was a good person and not a killer. And that,
wasn't there a shit ton of good in him? Even by your appraisal,
she
especially
keeps
from
remembering
Ellie?
him being murdered for his evil deeds, his villainous acts. The scene where he doomed the world. You know how he fucked everyone for his own benefit.
How he
Remember that?
chose his surrogate daughter because that was the only obvious choice. Yeah, I do remember that scene, Joby.
His selfish decision to doom humanity. But instead remembered a positive moment with him, and that was the moment that she decided that
She was avenging him
for positivity in this world, as opposed to an agent of negativity, which Joel ultimately was.
What?
Yeah.
What? She's avenging him because of the good stuff. She's not avenging him because he's a bad person.
No, she's avenging him and becoming more like him in the process.
Yeah,
And
but
so
she's already
why-
there though, because she's killed a shitload of people. But she killed a shitload of people in the first game. Yeah, they deserved it, but she still fucking killed a lot of people.
She's
I don't know.
attempting to find her own redemption
did.
as well.
Joel did. No, remember the scene where Joel's out of action during the
Oh
winter
yeah,
and
you're
plays
the
Ellie?
Arrow and stuff.
Did they give her a Tomb Raider moment? It's my favorite moment in
remember.
the first Tomb Raider reboot. You know, where you have that kill on the guy who obviously deserved to die, and even if he doesn't deserve to die, it's obviously self-defense. And she makes this big deal out of it, and it's a beautiful scene.
And she
Cut to
murders
credits
everyone.
where you've killed 600 people. So it's not like it's like everyone's on board with you earning that kill, Lara, but then now you can become a mass murderer.
Now you're gonna fucking taste for it.
Yeah, like what are they trying to do here? But I don't remember. I'm assuming they did with Ellie. I think that she gets one of those moments. And again, because all of those people are vilified because they're cannibals, right? So immediately you're like, well, they're basically Nazis or zombies, so they deserve to die. They eat people. That's fucked. And I think they even go further than that. Is it Nolan North play?
David.
One
Is
of
it
the-
David? Or
I think it's
Dave or
David, yeah.
something?
Yeah, he plays the creepy leader of them. So all those people, like, you're not in any denial about. But this second game is all about making you question that, right? And again, the ordering of fucking events. My God. Do you want to know how The Last of Us Part 3 ends?
Tell us.
It was my prediction for the end of Last of Us Part 2, but it would have made it a much, much longer game.
Right.
And I'm going to get I'm reading into stuff a little bit too much here, but bear with me, gentlemen. So Joel's biggest sin in the first game is actually to Ellie, and it is robbing her of the choice to sacrifice or not. What she says about it in The Last of Us Part 2, that she would have chosen to do that, right? Like, that's the implication. She hates him because the line she says about then my life would have meant something.
Yeah.
I fucking hate that Joel didn't have anything to say back to that. Like, is he agreeing with her that her life has no meaning? Like, by omission? I'm like, holy fuck, that's...
What's he supposed to say? Your life does have meaning. You're my surrogate daughter, and I selfishly kept you alive at the expense of the entire human race.
Joby, oh my God. And I'm like, I'm someone who has, pretty big conceptual problems with the concept of love, but like, I get that he loves her, and that is why he does what he does and why a lot of people do what they do, right? We're emotional beings. So he robbed her of that choice. In The Last of Us Part 2, we learn also, I mean, it's already implied, but we learn that the doctor, Abby's dad, also robs Ellie of that choice because he doesn't give her the option and say, hey, we want to, even if his plan was like, guys, hang out in the back with clubs, I'm going to give her the option. But if she says no, like even if he has no intention of letting her go, he doesn't give her the option. Right? Yeah. So that's bad. So he's removed her choice. So the third game, if the Fireflies are reforming, ends with Ellie getting to make the choice between whether she will sacrifice herself and whether she won't. And I'll take it one step further and say that she won't choose to do it.
She won't.
No, she's going to get the full Joel arc, but not in a mustache twirling villain kind of way. The whole game of the third one will be about earning Ellie's right to live, right? Because they've set her up now that she's lost everyone. So the third game will be about her connecting, whether it's with Abby or whatever. She's going to connect with people. And then she's going to get to the end of the game driving towards the decision of, I'm going to sacrifice myself and realize, actually, I want to live. And is it okay if I want to live type thing? So there you go. Sorry, spoiled The Last of Us.
And then they come out of the back room with clubs. And
it's just,
And
Yeah.
Nate's sitting there like,
They're listening. Yeah.
I think that'd be a pretty good one. I actually thought that we were gonna see Abby try to convince Ellie to come to the Fireflies and do the right thing or something.
It was a
You
pretty
think there's going to be a
powerful.
fucking team up moment with like the Alien versus Predator, where they're running down the street and holding hands.
I think they could have done that for part 3, right? Like if part 2 is the groundwork of getting you on board with these dual protagonists, and they meet up again, having let each other go. Technically, so it's a stalemate.
Showdown.
No. Do we start it up again, or do we like an uneasy truce type thing? You know, when you put Loki with Thor, that sort of thing. Like that's very dramatically rich. So they should absolutely force them to work together. I think. If I mean they've spent all this time building up Abby, you might as well, right? And I probably will have forgiven her by the end of the PS5 generation when Last of Us Part 3 launches.
Not only has Naughty Dog spent a lot of time building up Abby, but Abby spent a lot of time building up Abby. She has some fucking guns on her.
Yeah.
Like
I was weirded out by that. Were you guys weirded out by that?
I was surprised at first, but it seemed like the reason I was surprised is because I think in post-apocalyptic scenarios, everyone in The Last of Us looks way too well fed in general, in my opinion.
Except for Ellie, right?
And
she looks quite appropriate.
But building muscle is requires, mass to convert to.
She's doing a creatine shits,
right? Like she must be at some level. She is jacked.
I was about it by the end, though, right? Like I thought it was
it's so effective at the end. Yeah,
I thought it was the weirdest. Like it's almost a plot point because they use it to identify her. There's, what is it? A girl with big arms or something like, and you immediately know because she's the only. We meet many women in this, and she's the only one that you'd be like the girl with big arms. You'd be like, sorry, who? You'd
or
be like,
built like an ox or something like that.
Yeah. And it also works for the flashbacks because I was like, why is she talking about how much she can bench? Like this is such a weird line where she doesn't have those arms, and then it really works with her character in terms of her being this like a Terminator, right? Like she's just this killing machine. And then for the first fight between her and Ellie, you're like, don't let it become a fist fight, Ellie, because you lose immediately. Like not only is she built like a brick shithouse, she's combat trained, so you're fucking dead. So you want to shoot her. And the little knife at the end, I know that Abby was weak, but I'm like, this is still a pretty fair fight from my view. Like with a wounded Ellie with a knife versus, she's fucking diminished in mass. Those gains, man, she would have been most pissed about that, I reckon. That boat ride would have been all about talking about her gains. I'm gonna roll it back. It's gotta get those gains. I'm sure. Right?
Yeah,
I mean, she's not going to bleed to death, right? After having been slashed and stabbed several times and then kept in water. She'll be fine. Yeah. Everyone in this game is fine. Like, they kind of rob the meaning of death a little bit by the end. When Tommy's alive.
There's only one way to die, and it's to have a golf club lodged.
Golf club to the head.
The speech center of your brain.
No headshot, no dead.
Jesse die?
Huh? Oh, he got fucking.
Oh, Jesse. Yeah.
Is that the dude, right?
The dude who runs through the door and
I felt he was cool. I really liked him. And when the setup, I'm like, oh wow, they're gonna do like a buddy thing with this guy. He's cool. I'd never really liked Dina.
No.
I thought she was fucking full of herself.
Yeah. And then it's like three white dudes on a podcast. Maybe this isn't a discussion that we should necessarily be having. But do chicks get fucking knocked up a lot in this world or what? Like, are they just having loads dumped in them, like non-stop or what? Like fucking.
Oh, because there's 2 pregnant women. Is that what you're talking about?
It is a repeated plot point. Like, and like, my wife was watching next to me.
My wife,
and the like when the first chick is revealed to be pregnant. Owen's lover. Tina. I can't remember her name.
Oh,
not Tina. Tina's the second one to reveal that she's pregnant.
But,
Obvious
Emily?
downgrade from
Is it
Abby,
Emily?
by the way.
No.
Whatever. Emma, Emily, or something like that. Yeah. So my wife was watching all of this, and then the second one happened, and she's like, "Wait, another chick's pregnant?" I'm like, "It's the new my period." Because it just seemed like if a chick is not feeling well, she's fucking pregnant. Well, that's what's happening. She's pregnant.
Also, why weren't people terrified of people being pregnant? Or why wasn't there a
No,
line
what
about
is
the
this
importance of
fucking world?
repopulating the world or something? But like,
Right?
why
Like-
is pregnancy not like a holy fuck? That's kind of like a death sentence, unless
What
we can
are
get
you
you back to
doing?
somewhere safe, right? Like we want to keep you locked the fuck up in the compound. If you're in the wolf compound in the apartents, you're feeling safe. You know, you're not
Yep.
fucking trekking out, and
Right, like,
you're in Jackson.
This chick who's like 5 to 6 months along is like, yeah, better go out into the fucking, I don't know, the fucking scar zone where people have fucking set up traps and fucking blow up our trucks all the time. Let's go for a merry old jaunt out into fucking Dangerville. We will. Like, what the fuck are you doing, lady? Stay at home, you fucking lunatic. Like,
I guess at least Abby wasn't pregnant at the end, right? Because she banged Owen.
that's true.
She could have been hanging there, like anorexic and pregnant. Oh,
You'd be
no.
like, good
like, do you
lord.
really want to kill a pregnant lady?
Mm.
Luke's like, yes.
Oh no, I was just looking at the. I think Emily was the leader of the Scars.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right. But she's dead, right? The tree lady. Like she's backstory dead.
Yeah.
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 That's the vibe that I got, and I thought it was odd that she was relegated to backstory dead, and the leader of the wolves was in 2 scenes.
Yeah.
And he seemed like really like he could have been interesting, but outside of that, he was pretty just one-dimensional because he just likes to torture people.
Mm.
He's all about loyalty and torture, and that's it. There you go, 2 dimensions. I guess he can have 2 dimensions.
Yeah,
So,
there's a scene where you first meet Lev, and they come out of the they clip her wings. That's the scene where she dies.
Oh fuck! Oh, you're talking about the new leader of the Scars.
Oh, well, that's the lady that's there.
Wait, or is that the
you're
tree
talking
lady?
about Yara. Yara's Lev's sister.
Yeah.
No,
She
there's
isn't
a
the lady that's there that says like clip her wings.
No, that's a different person. That's a completely different person.
See, the
Emily,
Scars are so fucking underdeveloped.
That's not Emily.
She might be the new leader, but remember there's all of the shrines and stuff to a woman in the Scars? That's not who you killed.
The
My
lady in the
understanding is that's not who you killed.
doesn't look like a fucking battle axe, which is what the lady who tells them to clip fucking Yara's wings looks like. She looks
But
like...
then there's also
she
the
just
text
looks like...
about her dying.
I got an auntie who looks like this chick, and I'm like, fuck, just stone cold bitch. You know, like, good lord. What are you doing? What are you doing with your life? She's hyper religious as well. It's a weird trend.
She's Gar in the making, is what you're saying.
That's basically what I'm driving at. So I got to ask, because we spent 2 hours shitting on this fucking game. Do we all like it?
Yeah.
I liked it. I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
Not 10. I wouldn't 10 it.
No.
But
yeah. We
but
talked
I thought
about
it was
this
a very good
yesterday
game.
or last week as well. That
Yeah.
I think I would have somewhere in a 9 range. I'm not too sure where, but
Yeah. I'd go 8 to 8.5. I thought it was fantastic. Like, obviously, having spent 2 hours, but this is just because this is all the stuff we haven't been allowed to fucking talk about, right?
This is criticism. This is how criticism works.
Yeah, and I think, you know, I've written 3,500 words about it. It's all on the geopodcast.com. You can go read. Like, I think it is a largely positive review. But yeah, I do think that it had some like major structural problems. I honest to God think It would be such a. I honestly hope we get to see a cut of this game where they do it correctly.
Has that ever happened? Like,
I don't-
ever?
I don't think so.
I've never wanted it before. But then again, I've never wanted a game to end as much as this. The last game was Alien Isolation. The last game where I was just like, I'd stopped being connected. I knew what the game was doing. I was like, I was done with this 5 hours ago. That was Isolation. With this, I was like, I was done 12 hours ago. I mean, the gameplay was still great. It's just, that's not why I play a Naughty Dog game, for the gameplay, to be completely frank. Yeah. Like, like Joby loves saying this, the shooting is sub fucking par.
Oh yeah.
And the stealth is not best in class either, although this game had much improved stealth, and I really enjoyed the stealth elements. I really enjoyed the idea that you could relocate, and like the kiting of the infected and the leading of the infected to
Humans.
the living. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed how they built it out. Like, they made it much deeper and wider, the gameplay. And I think I was saying this to Joby the other day. There would be combat sections where, like, the little hubs that they have, where like, this is a combat space because there are enemies, and I can approach it how I want. But I would often stealth and bait and kill people in, say, the first fifth or even up to quarter of a section, and then I'd go through looting and I'd be like, holy shit, it would have been awesome to have a shootout in here. I can see that there's a choke point. The only way that they come in, I could have put a mine there. So it would be really rewarding for people replaying in terms of the gameplay, or just replaying those sections, but also anyone who does a proper scout first before they do it and wants to pick their battleground.
Traps.
I think that it lends itself to that. So there's a whole other level that I didn't really delve into. I don't intend on playing it again. It's too fucking long. But my God, I would love them to release, like, if enough people criticize what we have in terms of the structure not landing, I would love for them to just release a freeform option to pick your chapters and your cutscenes. Like, forget about their version. Let us make our version out of what they've got. And to reorder it. I don't think that's ever been done before. But I think some really interesting stuff would come out of that. I mean, I wish I could Men in Black myself, like re-edit it, Men in Black myself, with the I'm blind, sorry, memories wiped, and then go back to the start and see. Because all I have is theories, right? I have theories that there would have been things that would have been more emotionally impactful and would have resounded and landed in a better way, but I can't know. I can't ever know. I'm actually kind of glad that we waited an extra week to talk about it, because last week I was Star Wars Last Jedi angry about it last week, and being able to calm down and think about it more, I think it's helped in this instance. But I still think it's a great game. Like, if you're a Last of Us fan, you have to play it. You gotta. It's a must play. So I would hate to have reviewed it and scored it. I would have tried to probably cheap out and say, can I give it a gameplay score and a story score, please?
And a sound score. Graphics, gameplay, sound.
Well, like, I mean, graphics and sound would be all like top notch. Gameplay, I think, is really, really great. Like, I really enjoyed the gameplay. I mean, it's got its problems here and there, but on the whole, it's like, this is fucking awesome. That was not impacting my engagement at all. The gameplay was a big part of why I kept going. But the story and and again, not what they've got there, just how they've structured it. I just thought it was such a risk. Like, it's Naughty Dog saying in its current structure, we believe that we can butcher Joel, and by the time the credits roll, you will not only have forgiven Abby, you'll be on side with her, and maybe you'll be torn about who you like more. Or maybe you'll even like Abby more than Ellie. It seems to be what they were gunning for.
Yeah.
But I don't... Yeah.
That is the arrogance you were talking about. That is pure arrogance. To think that you could carry that off the way that they did it.
It's a hell of a risk. Like, it's just a hell of a risk. I would love to hear that there was interference. Like, that would make the most sense to me. But would there be? Like, is Naughty Dog, like, Rockstar level untouchable when it comes to that sort of thing? And you know, like they're the Christopher, kind of like that Christopher Nolan tier of storytelling that's so rare these days, where I don't think you really ever hear about studio interference with a Christopher Nolan film. Although now while I'm playing it, I just think that The Dark Knight Rises reeks of it.
I don't
it's just
think there was studio interference, but they've openly talked about there being fights in like the studio amongst each other about things in the game, and I wonder if that is to do with the direction of where the story
Like,
I hope that
unfolds.
comes out.
it
right?
definitely seems like it had, if not a troubled development cycle in the sense that we're talking about, it definitely seems like it had a troubled development cycle. Like, yeah, there's no way to know for certain that it was regarding things we're talking about or the structure of the narrative or anything. But like there were definitely disgruntled Naughty Dog employees or ex Naughty Dog employees hoping for this game to fail and stuff. So like, yeah, there's definitely some internal conflict there. So yeah, I don't think there was a unanimous drive for this game. So I do think that there is a chance that there was some sort of final word given that, you know, laid down how this game should play out. And yeah, I whatever that final word was, I mean, if it's what we got in the end, then it was incorrect, I think, in my opinion.
And that's the
But,
thing I
yeah.
disagree with about the 10s. Like, ultimately, not the specifics of their reviews or whatever, and I still stand by what I said earlier, and I know I'm probably going to sound like I'm contradicting myself. Like, I stand by that if you were emotionally connected to the extent that you were with the original game, I can understand why you would give it a 10. But the problem of there being so many 10s before the game comes out means that they can immediately go, see, we were right.
Yeah.
And then it requires enough players to have had similar experiences or struggling with structure or whatever it is for that to become feedback that they would want to pay attention to, right? Because otherwise, again, they just get to go, yeah, but we got 50 10s. So fuck you.
It didn't get Mass Effect 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yep.
I mean, because there was a lot of people that didn't want a sequel to this, like tons.
Yeah.
And I wonder how. I've definitely read reviews where people were like, I didn't think this needed a sequel, but I've changed my mind now. But I wonder how the general public likes to, shit on a fucking game that's done well just for the funsies. Be like, this is one of the worst games I've ever played. And you're like, okay, sure, whatever you think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there was the leak stuff, right? Where people were like, oh, because I went and looked at the leaks after I'd finished, and they were right, I think.
There was definitely one version of them that were bang on, although interpreted incorrectly, I think.
Yeah, that was the interesting thing, wasn't it? And people were going, "Oh, this game is going to be shit because of the leaks." And I'm like, first of all, why would you ever think that? Like, how could a bit of knowledge so destroy the game before you even played it?
Well,
and that's.
I was just going to say, I sent you guys a link to that Reset Era thread yesterday or the day before. The game isn't out yet, and it was 170 pages long, this thread. The spoiler thread, it was people talking about other people's impressions of the spoilers that have been released, and it was just insane. Like the stuff that people were talking about in that whole section.
It's nuts. It's stupid, but like a lot of those, some of those people were saying, "Oh, pre-order cancelled." Don't you love it? My favorite burn about those people in general of late that I read, and I'm sure it's an old one, is this is not a departure. Like, this is not an airport lounge. You don't have to announce your departure type thing. Like, just fuck off. Like, if you don't like it, cancel your pre-order. The world doesn't need to know about it. Yeah, like, and if your buddy cancelled it as well for the same reason, have a talk to them, bro down over it. But like, fucking don't get on a thread and talk. Nobody gives a fucking shit that you did. And it's going to make a shitload of money regardless because it's a first-party Sony title. Like, look at Days Gone, which I understand has had some of its rougher edges patched. I can't see how that would elevate it to the same sort of space where it should be revered, like Last of Us or Horizon Zero Dawn, or because Sony has a pedigree for releasing really great first-party titles, and I think Days Gone was kind of one of the first recent ones that I can think of. Throw in if you've got another one.
Detroit.
That was kind of more like, it felt more B+ tier, like in terms of how it was held together.
I think B+ games are fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that. But Sony's always seemed to be pushing for the A+, in terms of its presentation and storytelling and its talent, and it's like everything is like, we want to be the HBO of games, right?
Yeah.
And I felt like Days Gone would have been fine if it hadn't been this is the first party Sony title. If it was a third party title, I think it would have been better for it in a way, because it would not have had to deal with that expectation. That game had problems beyond what you could patch out.
Yeah.
And certain people on Facebook fucking talking about how it's genius used to be in the industry. What the fuck, Joby? What the fuck are these people doing?
Why? Why have you said that, Job? Tell us.
What?
He knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. But but you made it sound like it was Job.
Joby's still in the industry? I didn't know. Well, I thought it was clear because Joby's still in the industry.
I'm out of a job.
Don't do me like this.
No.
Yeah.
It just weirds me out. Like, that game had objective problems, which is fine. Like, I finished it, but I would have given it 6 out of 10.
Yeah.
Like, it had a good gameplay loop and fun, but they saved the best part of the game until right towards the end, and then they made all of those bits optional. Did you? Because you guys didn't finish it, right? Remember the videos that they showed originally, and you're like, holy fuck, there's zombies swarming everywhere. That happens in limited ways. It happens in massive ways right towards the end.
Right.
And then it becomes an optional side quest to go and find them all and destroy all of these giant hordes, which technically you could have encountered during the game. Some of them unlock later, but other ones are just there roaming, and you just avoid them because you don't have all of the unlocks and the weapons and the ammo and everything you need to even be able to effectively kill them all. And they're actually, the fun parts of the game are planning, like I was hinting at with the Last of Us 2. If you play it in a planning approach, you're going to have fun. So if you can see them and you're like, okay, this is where I'm going to build up my kill box. This is where I'm going to destroy 100 of them with this and this and this. And it's super satisfying the way that plays out. And when it's not tanking the frame rate like it was at launch, it's intense. And it's like, why didn't they put more of this in the goddamn game? It's fucking weird.
Yeah. All right. Is there anything else we want to touch on in terms of the story at all, or?
I really like the dogs. I like those dogs. I think they did a good job with the dogs. Yeah, I don't know. That's about it. I liked them. I like throwing the little squid for the dog. I must have.
I accidentally threw the ball over the fence.
What a cunt!
But then I went out and tried to get it, and couldn't pick it up.
The psycho leaderboards.
Although the original Last of Us, remember the giraffe moment?
Yeah.
Grizz was talking about it in awe. Like, it's such a beautiful scene, and he's like, it must have even melted the cold-hearted bastard, because nobody that I know took a shot at them, and I'm like, you can't do anything. It was purely for experimentation. I didn't actually want to see the giraffe die. I was just like, I bet I can't hurt them, and you can't. So I was more like just feeling like I needed to pat myself on the back for being smart. But it would have been better if I could, because then I would have felt really bad.
Oh yeah.
We talked about a lot of the gameplay criticisms that we had on the podcast 2 weeks ago. Nate, did you play with that, like any accessibility options switched on or anything like that? Like, did you have a look at any of those?
I only played on normal. It was only afterwards that Joby was talking about some of the stuff he turned on. I think you mentioned it as well.
The auto.
Yeah, I didn't do that, and it actually meant that I favored stealth a lot more, because I don't back myself to aim. And in survival games, and this one, inexplicably, you know how you got like an assault rifle or a pistol and you've got 2 rounds in reserve, or 6, and I'm like, why have they got a giant backpack? It just feels weird. It feels weird that they've decided to arbitrarily tap me out at less than a full magazine's refill. So
Yeah.
I was like, I don't want to get into fights because I've got too much ammo. But then because I was a scavenger fiend, I would get ammo for everything. I'd be like, oh, I've got all the ammo. I might as well just
Might as well use it.
shoot everyone, and then kind of flip between the two.
Mm.
I didn't end up enabling any of it, but I can't aim for shit, man. Like anytime I pull off a headshot on a console, I feel like a god.
Yeah.
I usually just aim center mass.
Yeah. Yeah.
What
I
did
did a
want
lot
to
of
say
bow
about
and
the
arrow because that had a good, like, not a lot of weapon sway, and it showed you where the bullet was going to land, and very stealthy. I like the bow and arrow quite a lot.
bow was cool. The crossbow was great.
Yeah.
That's the only thing, like the main point that I wanted to make about the gameplay the main issue that I had was that they introduced cool things that didn't come back. That section where they had the tripwires hidden in the grass. Imagine if sections later on, because there's patrol paths, so that would make sense that they had fixed patrol paths, game logic where they're like, they just keep walking the same way. Because if there's fucking minefields off to the side and you're trying to flank around and because those tripwires are hard to see and you end up going through that, like it made me super paranoid moving through that section just because I was trying to loot everything. I'm like, oh, and I'd run up real close and stop and go, holy fuck, there's wires there.
Hmm.
That plus like the proxy miney thing that is only used in the fight where you're Abby against Ellie. You know how there's that last section where she dropped the mines. Ellie drops the mine behind her.
Yep.
So you can't sneak up on her. You remember that, Luke?
Yeah, she uses her own tools against you. Yeah.
Yeah, but she found that first mine on a workbench, which means that the wolves or the scars, one of them knew how to make them. So why weren't they using that? Like when you botch a stealth thing and you relocate, why weren't they like a Batman Arkham, Predator section? Why weren't they going, okay, we're putting mines down, we're taking out that vantage point? Like I thought there was an opportunity for them to build on that. And then the last thing, which I touched on earlier, was that final fight was fucking sick. But why hadn't they individually introduced those elements earlier? Like people wearing helmets, the zombies that are kind of tied up that you can release onto them. I guess they maybe wanted to keep it for the slavers being super fucked up or whatever. But there was gameplay elements that only happened right at the end for what, a 20-minute, 30-minute section?
Yeah.
That
I mean,
would have
it
been
does it a lot, right?
sick.
The very first hub area you get into, it's like buildings and places you can go and explore. I think I cleared out most of them, or at least everything.
I got everything, absolutely everything. Like I did laps and stuff to make sure, because they called out points of interest when you went past them. So
yeah. And it's cool though, because you go to like the bank, and then you find a note that says there's a wolf den or a wolf hideout, not a den. People think I'm talking about actual wolves. There's like a hideout somewhere else, and she marks it on the map and writes it down, and then like. I like that area, and I'm okay with them using that once and then being like, cool, now we're going to do something different for the next 25 hours. but even then, I don't know, it might have just been a bit weird if they just kept doing that same thing over and over again. If you've been like, here's another hub. Maybe if they did it one more time, that would have been okay.
Well, it would have helped to break up the linear stuff though, right? Because it just went super linear after that. And then they did have hubs, but they were way smaller, like tiny.
They're definitely a lot
combat
smaller,
hubs.
but it's not entirely linear. There's still definitely places to explore, and like I would finish a combat fight and spend a bunch of time just walking around looking. Like I remember one fight ended up in like a basement somewhere, and there was like infected, and I had to crawl my way back out through. And it felt like I was going for quite a while, and then I ended up back up top again. I was like, okay, cool. This is like just where I was. I would have completely missed all this if I didn't actually look in this basement. So yeah, there's a lot of hidden sort of areas around the place that you can miss if you don't explore. I think if somebody was to play that game normally as like an action game, they could get through it. Knock out maybe 10 hours off of that playtime just from not exploring, just like mainlining it.
Yeah. Definitely. I did all the side stuff too.
Grizz has put up a playthrough. I haven't seen it because I think it couldn't go up until midnight, and obviously I've been busy since I got up. But I think he put up a playthrough where he blind playthrough, so his first playthrough was on survivor difficulty.
Yeah, he's putting up in parts. He's up to part 10 at the moment, I think.
So I think he on Twitter he said it was 16 parts. And it took him 20 hours to finish.
On Survivor.
I think because he was playing on Survivor, he was like looting a lot less. I think you're disincentivized to explore because you need to move on and get through to the next part and not fucking die.
Wouldn't you be more incentivized to explore because there's just
to
fucking
get every little bit of,
That's what weirds me out. Like that guy's freakishly good at games. I just don't think he dies much at all. Like that's what it must be. He doesn't have to replay because he just goes, oh yeah. If you watched his review, he has little gameplay sections of him shooting, and if you didn't know him, you would swear that he was using one of those adapters that lets him plug in a keyboard and mouse because his headshot accuracy is freakish. And if I was playing on PC, that's exactly what I'd be doing as well. Like I'd just be going for headshots, right? Yeah. And we'd all be able to do it, but because I can't aim properly, it feels intense in a way that is just more because I'm not very good with the controller, rather than it being difficult to shoot or whatever.
But that's what I was saying to Joab, is that there's a lot of difficulty sliders and accessibility options, and not even just like sensitivity options, like how much strength you want the auto aim to work on, what types of the body parts do you sort of want it to aim at. Like you can toggle all that stuff. I don't think there's anything wrong with anyone using those settings at all. There's a lot of talk in the past about accessible games like Dark Souls and things like that, and I think The Last of Us Part 2 sets like a benchmark for difficulty and accessibility for people that want to have different experiences. Not everybody wants to play a certain way, and that's fine. There's things on here where it'll just tell you hints to the puzzle, which way to go, like directional arrows, stealth indicators when you've been seen. A lot of that stuff is off by default, but if I want to say to my wife, hey, you should play this, but she doesn't play a lot of console games, first off, and doesn't play a lot of those types of games, like she plays on PC mostly, a lot of that stuff might be helpful for her. So it just allows more people to play these types of things and allow them to experience it.
Yeah, it's awesome, like just giving people options, right? As long as it's optional in that it's not forced on you to impact difficulty, like make it easier or whatever. Like if you give people control over all that stuff, then it's fine. And if I can completely understand. I should have put auto aim on because I struggle with aiming, and I'd be more likely to reload a save if I miss too many shots, which probably isn't the way to do it. I was definitely doing a bit of save scumming, and there were times when it let me save scum, and there were other times when it would just be like, no, I know you saved it then, but I'm taking you back to the beginning of the fight. So I became less reliant on that, and towards the end I was more willing to roll with the punches, which I think is probably what they wanted. Like, oh, I've exhausted this weapon's ammo, I'll have to stick to this one for a while, or that removes my stealthy options and I can only stab them. I can't use my silenced pistol because I'm out of ammo, that sort of thing.
Right.
Yeah. That's more what I think that would have been a better way to do it rather than me trying to game it.
Yeah. I remember there being assists for just like difficult things like enemies won't flank you. Like you could switch that off.
Yeah.
It's just
okay.
Yeah, like you can have your difficulty,
enemies won't
like
notice
5
you
difficulty settings, but then you can go in and tweak them even further to like switch on certain things and switch certain things.
That's cool. Yeah. Like you don't want people to hit a frustration barrier where they quit at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another one was like they won't, if you take them like hostage, you can like grab them and use them as like a shield. One of the options was like they won't be able to escape, so you could just toggle that.
Okay. Did you shoot any of those people?
Oh my god!
I only did it right at the end. I'm like, I wonder if this worked. If I don't aim and I hit, and it was just, I'm like, oh shit, it works. Which I guess with a suppressed pistol would have been a stealthy approach, but then you just stab them, wouldn't you? You wouldn't waste not only wouldn't waste the bullet, but you wouldn't waste the damage done to the suppressor.
Yeah, I always did it without a suppressor because I didn't want to waste them. I did it a lot.
Yeah, grabbing them was like that was cool. When shit got real and you relocated on stealth and people were coming through, it was a cool way to be like, I can get 2 kills here effectively. But it also, because they were wriggling, you had to kind of want to get that first shot early, otherwise you risked losing them and having 2 people facing you. But my favorite, I told Joby about this, my favorite moment in the game was when I'd gone loud and I was being stalked by 2 people, and my melee weapon had broken, so I ended up doing the stab thing, which takes a while. And I knew this other one was coming up behind me, and I'm like, "Fuck, I don't have much time to finish this." I stabbed the person to finish them, and they dropped their axe. And I don't know, because it happened again later. I don't know if it was automated, but I felt like I hit the pickup button with the intention of, please grab the axe before it falls, and she did. And then I did like a reverse flick attack, and she spun around and just immediately axed the person in the head. And I was like, that's some fucking John Wick shit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's beautifully animated. The way that they have done little animation cheats to make it still feel responsive in terms of you can still flick shot, but it looked perfectly like she's moving in sync with what you're doing. And when you go and fight people in the way, like the physics, I know Joby got the physics to fail, but I was like killing people and they'd die up against a wall in a way that looked believable, not the usual thing where you're like, that looks broken, or their physics is freaking out. Like they'd be smashed up against the wall, but it would just be like a little bit of their head, leaning up against the wall type thing. I'm like, that's how it would look, right? That's wow. I was super. The presentation is best in class. It's amazing.
Yeah. The only thing I think it needed in terms of its stealth that I was kind of thought it should have was being able to move bodies. Because
100%.
people can find bodies, but you can't really do anything with them. It's not like you can hide them anywhere.
Put mines on them.
Okay, yeah, I guess you could do that. Is it like, does it say put a trap, or is it just you putting a mine?
No,
there?
you just put it next to them, so you can use them as bait, which is cool. But you're right, it doesn't give you the option. I think it would have also been a better delineation between Ellie and Abby, right? Like those gains, she could much easier move bodies, and Ellie would have to struggle and drag. Like that kind of stuff would be cool because they were already going for that difference in terms of the tweaks to their arsenal,
physicality,
things like that. Yeah,
because their skills were different.
It didn't help Abby's plight that she had just objectively a worse weapon set than Ellie,
except for the crossbow. Holy fuck! You didn't like the crossbow?
Bow arrow. No, I
really?
like arrow more, man. Yeah,
right.
Because you could fire it faster.
And Ellie had the explosive bolts, right?
Yeah.
Holy fuck! Every time I was full on those, I was like, some motherfucker's getting Rambo 2'd.
yeah.
Every time I'm like, it's full. I don't care if I'm one of
the amount of times
people are exploding.
Where I would like shoot someone and I'd be like, like they just lost an arm or a leg or something. Like it never got old. I was just the amount of
the mines, especially, just rip their legs off, and you just like fuck. And again, that's why I couldn't watch the dogs going over mines. So they were definitely onto some stuff with the dogs in particular. And I just anyway, that was probably the main thing that got me thinking about the structure. Was the goddamn dogs. That was your easiest win. People don't like, killing dogs, pregnant people, children. So these are the things you kind of want to, like, because effectively Naughty Dog is manipulating us, right? Emotionally manipulating us, as all storytellers are, into feeling certain things, connecting with certain things, distancing ourselves from certain things. Seemed like an easy win. Maybe you know what? Maybe it was playtesters that ruined it. Let's give them a pass. Maybe it was that structure was originally in place, and playtesters go, I don't want to like the dogs, and people were just like putting their controllers down, like, nope, I'm not doing that.
Maybe.
Which would suck because
that would suck.
Yeah. Anyways, release the edit, Naughty Dog, please. Let us structure our own stories, and we can all compare about how we're better storytellers than you.
Good luck with that, Nate. See how it goes.
Yikers.
I look forward to him rating your first movie.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll be kind.
Yeah,
maybe. All right, cool.
All right, anything else that we want to touch on gameplay wise, or no? I think if people want to listen more about us talking in relation to gameplay elements, Job and I talked about an hour and 10 minutes. A lot of gameplay related stuff, things we liked, like the puzzles and the breaking the glass and things like that. So you can go back to episode, I think it was 520.
520, yeah.
520.
I was going to say 250.
It's in the title. It's called the Redacted of Us 2. If you want to go check that out. But otherwise, I think it's definitely going to be my top 5 at the end of this year, considering there is not really I don't know. There's not like
Fucking
Cyberpunk got delayed today.
Give it
so-
3 more months, and yeah, there's not even going to be Cyberpunk. So
yeah, but we talked about this. I do think it's the best looking game this generation, and it's probably gonna stay that way by the looks of it.
yeah.
100%.
So yeah, if you haven't played it and you've got or if you're thinking about maybe playing it, definitely think it's worth checking out. If you're still listening after this and you're like, all right, cool, I might check this out. I wasn't really sure, but whatever. We definitely talking negatively about certain aspects, but we all enjoyed the game for the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to play it. You have to play it.
I
If you
think
played the
so,
first
yeah.
one, you have to play it. And even if you want to play,
What if you
whatever
haven't
reason,
played the first one?
you'd want to go play the first one, right?
I think it's sort of required, or at least
Well, because I mean, you want to play the first one after you'd played the second one, and then that wouldn't hold up from a gameplay point of view anyway. So you're better off
It'd be rough, yeah.
speed run the fuck out of it. Put it on easy. Play the first game on easy if you just want to get up to speed, or
Yeah.
go watch a recap
Watch it on
video.
YouTube.
I guess.
The squirrel
there's
Yeah,
a little bit of a
but-
recap at the start of this one.
A little bit, yeah.
You definitely want to know the story, right? And there's background stakes going in, I think.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're
Yeah.
missing out on a big component of it. And like honestly, I want to talk to more people about it. I want to talk to people who gave it 10s. I'd love to run into people who, because I want to understand that. I want to ask the questions about forgiveness, about engagement, about at what point were you on board with Abby? You know, what did you think of Ellie at the end? Like, it's created a very fascinating discussion. So yes, I've definitely been overly critical, but that's the same as Star Wars love, right? Like you feel
Yeah.
because
How
you
many-
get upset, you have to tease it out more.
How many other games
Labour
have we
point.
done this with this year?
Yeah.
None.
Yeah, exactly. None.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, that's the
All right.
show. The Gap, you can find us on iTunes, Android, Windows Store. Maybe you haven't listened to one of our podcasts before. You should definitely go check that out. You can find us under The Gap, the GA Podcast, or The Gap Podcast. We're a weekly show where we talk about video games. We run through what we've been playing, the news of the week, and pretty much anything else in between. It's not exactly on point all the time, but we do like to talk about games quite a lot. So go check that out. You can find us on social media, facebook.com/GA Podcast, twitter.com/GA Podcast. You can go to our Discord page, thegapodcast.com/Discord. We've got a good little community over there that likes to play games and talk about all things video games. Leave us comments in the spoiler chat. Or is that just a movie chat?
That's movies.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, don't
Should we
leave
make
us.
a games one?
We should make a games one, shouldn't we?
Okay.
We'll
Okay. That
make
makes
a games
a
one.
bit of sense. We're a fucking game
I'll
podcast.
call it Joel Dies in The Last of Us Part 2 channel.
Definitely don't do that. But yeah, jump in there. You can also go to our website, which is thegapodcast.com. It's got links to all our shows previously and all our social media links as well. You want to check them out. And that is all thanks to our Patreon members. If you want to help support the show, you can go to patreon.com/GAPodcast. They're the ones that help us put on this show this week. If it wasn't for them, we probably wouldn't be doing it. So thank you to all those people.
You're the best.
And I think that is it. Is there anything you'd like to pimp out social media-wise, Job, for yourself?
No.
No. Okay, fine. You
Go-
can go to the
Check me on Twitter at JobyJojo.
and go to our website and read Job's review, thegapodcast.com.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that.
I have to
awesome.
read it again
Unredacted.
now that it's unredacted.
Now you gotta
Unredacted.
go read it again.
Are you going to
That's
go
the bit
post
I
it on
wanted
that
to
other
know most
website,
about.
Job, for people to read?
Hey? What?
Are you going to post it on that other website, the other Reddit website?
No, I don't think I will.
No.
Yeah.
No?
They'll probably pull it
Um,
off once they read it, right? Once they're like, oh, no. We don't like that.
Look at this
Oh.
idiot.
Reasonable.
All right, Nate, where can we find you on social media?
Don't find me
Right.
on social media.
Okay, what about your podcast?
Nacho Justice on Twitter, yeah. You should check out my podcast, my other podcast. This is not my podcast. Here's my movie.com. I'm not going to spruik anything beyond that because I don't remember it because we don't
It's
do
basically what we just spent fucking 2 hours doing on this, because here's my
Here's my
movie.com
video game.
is this has been here's my videogame.com.
Spin off if I can ever be
Uh-huh.
fucked.
where you like go through and you talk about how you, like what your version of a film would be. Our version of The Last of Us would be basically just re-edited. But yeah, no, it's a good podcast when it comes out.
We keep it
Yep.
keen. And by that, I mean, we do an episode when we get around to it. Occasionally it's once a month. I think it's been longer than that. What is our next episode, Joby? What did I tell you it was?
Is it The Crappening?
No, that's
Still
the
not The
forever
Crappening?
joke.
No, you did tell me. I can't remember what you were going to do.
It's not Cats. It's not Event Horizon. Oh, God. Katie would kill
yeah.
me. It's something else. Tune in for it, I guess.
Jurassic Park 3.
No, that's on my list, but it's not that.
Jurassic Park 1.
Shut the fuck up. How fucking could you?
I was just thinking if
I'm
there's anything I'd change about that. And no.
No.
I mean, unless I was going to take the novel point of view, in which case, Muldoon would live because Muldoon is king.
Yep.
That'd be about it. But like, he has one of the best deaths in history.
Yeah.
Movie history, right? Just because of that line.
On the
Mainly because of
toilet?
that line.
The one that
Iconic.
dies in the toilet?
What?
You're fucked, cunt. You are fucked.
Is that guy called Gennaro? Something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. The lawyer. Victimless crime.
Dog ass.
All right, you can find me twitter.com/Luke Lawrie, and that is it for this week. Nate, thanks for coming along, chatting to us. We'll maybe catch you again for the maybe the Cyberpunk Spoilercast when that comes out.
In 2021.
2021. Yeah.
Yeah, they'll just keep pushing it back. 2027.
They can. But that's the thing, right? Like everyone can push games back now because PS4 5's launching with PS4 backwards compatibility, Series X as well. So I think that developers have the breathing space, which I kind of like from a they shouldn't be crunching point of view, but I fucking hate from a I want to play this game point of view.
God damn it. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, that is it for us
Yeah.
this week.
Anyway.
Thanks everyone
Bye.
for listening. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.